to handle my stress, Gooch.
How do you do that?
Breathing exercises.
Do you?
Drink. No, I'm only joking.
Plenty of
No,
water.
I don't. I'm stressed all the time, but it's good.
No, you're not stressed.
I
all the
am.
time, are you?
Yeah, yeah.
But how do you deal with that?
You don't. It's just who I am. I don't try anymore.
No, but you should try. You don't want to be too stressed out.
It'll be grand.
You're gonna have everybody stressed out in this program now.
No, I'm a calming influence.
Let me breathe, will you?
Are you stressed, Gooch?
No, I'm grand.
How do you cope with your stress?
I do exercise, but then I said,
this is the problem. I'm going to take the stress.
But I do a bit of exercise. I do a bit, right, 3 times a week. But then I said that to somebody one time and says, "Oh, how do you deal with stress?" And I said, "I'll do exercise." And says, "That's not dealing with stress." No, but I did.
Of course it is.
I tell you what I did do, right? Can I have time to tell you? About a few months ago, right, where I train, right, to do this restorative yoga, right? And it's not yoga, but it's just all these comfortable positions for an hour, and you leave all your baggage at the door, meaning clear your head, and it's breathing techniques.
Mindfulness.
And I have to say, you come out super relaxed.
Really?
Honest to God. And I did it on a Friday.
What did your heart rate go down to?
I don't know. But I started to snore and sleep and stuff like that. And you take a blanket with you, it's cozy. It's totally relaxation to the most highest.
Right.
And even the tone of your voice, you'll come out and you'll be talking in a lower tone because you'll be nice and relaxed.
And you'd not pay someone, that's a class you go to.
Yeah. Well, I only done it about 4 times, but
it empowers you then to do it at home?
No. You go home, so you're going into boom.
That's what I'm saying. It's 1 hour and then you're away.
I know.
Okay, well, more life advice and relaxation tips from Lee Gooch at the same time tomorrow. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Lee.
Greg.
Could become a regular feature.
No, I don't think so. The wrong advice.
All right, okay. Just after 9 now. Let's get a news update from Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Minister Charlie McConlogue says a number of major school projects in Inishowen remain on schedule and he's confident they will not be delayed. He was speaking after Education Minister Norma Foley said that Gaelscoil na Garmaistry in Donegal Town is the only Donegal project which has been stalled as a result of a review of costs by the Department of Public Expenditure. Asked about Moville Community College, where works have been outstanding for a lengthy period, Minister Foley said it continues to go through the normal processes. That's been echoed by Minister McConlogue.
The final tender for the main contract has been identified. The ETB now are waiting for final go-ahead in relation to the electrical and mechanical subcontracts. Half of the school is in prefabs. It doesn't have the facilities that a school of its stature and of its educational service provision or students or staff deserves.
The Taoiseach says the government was well aware of an exodus of small landlords when it decided not to extend the evictions ban. However, Leo Varadkar admits it wasn't aware of the exact number of termination notices issued prior to the decision being made. It comes as the RTB estimates up to 15,000 landlords could leave the private rental sector this year. Well, in Donegal, 88 eviction notices were reactivated following the lifting of the ban at midnight on Friday. Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty says one family is facing having to sleep in their car.
In one conversation that my office had with a family was a case of that they have nowhere to go. There's nowhere available to them to rent at the price that they can afford, and they're talking to the local authority about sleeping in their car. This is just not acceptable that you would have a family in the northwest in that situation. But this was always the reality when the government decided to end its eviction ban without any plan in place.
An Inishowen councillor believes the old health centre in Clonmany could be repurposed for use by local sports clubs. The facility on Binion Road has been lying vacant for a number of years now while remaining in possession of the HSC. Councillor Albert Doherty says priority needs to be given to place the building on the open market.
I have now put it to the HSC capital and estates that they must go through the requirements that are necessary in order that if there's no interest internally, that the HSC now prioritise putting this building and that they be open to an interested community group.
Weather now, some rain and drizzle this morning, but it will become mainly dry today with highest temperatures of 11 or 12 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
It's not just that Sarah can't rely on the rains to come this year. It's not just that the only water left could cost her life. It's not just that she has seen all her crops destroyed and she is struggling to feed her little boy. Like thousands of parents living in regions devastated by drought, Sarah is living in fear, and it's not just. This Lent, your help can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1-800-408-408. Trocra. Together for a just world.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. 6 minutes past 9, Tuesday the 4th of April 2023. How are you keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed this morning. And we want your company for the next 3 hours. We're going to keep you informed, entertained, loads to talk about. We're in the garden, actually, for the first time for the year, by the way. So if you're looking out, if you're lucky enough to have a house in this day and age, but if you're lucky enough to have a bit of grass or whatever out the front or some planting pots or whatever it might be, maybe you want to use the little extra time you might have over Easter to get cracking. Is it the right time to do so? We've got a bit of frost coming overnight later in the week. But anyway, we are going to be in the garden answering your questions. So if you've any of them, come into us on 08660 25000 WhatsApps and texts, or give us a call on 07491 25000. Community Garden information, where you'll hear all the latest appeals and information from Mongodish Yukana first here live on the 9 till Noon Show. That's just after 10. That and so much more besides. And whatever you want to talk about as well. Comments come into us at comments@highlandradio.com, and you can watch the programme. Maybe you have you're at home for Easter or what have you. Maybe you've taken time off to be with the children, whatever it might be. Well, you can open up your smart TV. Most people have them now. Go to the YouTube app, search Highland Radio Ireland or Facebook Watch, though it's disappearing off the Fire Stick for some reason. But anyway, you can watch the show there, or on your tablet, your laptop, on our website, highlandradio.com. It's just more ways to keep you informed. There's captions on the stream as well for those who are hard of hearing and want to stay up to date with what's happening around the Northwest and beyond as well. It's local, regional, national and international. Let's go to the Derry Journal this morning. There were only 57 properties available to let in Donegal as the ban on evictions ended on Friday. The lack of rental housing supply in the county was highlighted by independent TD for Sligo Leach from South Donegal, Marion Harkin, who told the Dáil last week it was a particular problem in the Northwest. Ms Harkin said, according to daft.ie this evening, that was last Tuesday, there are now just 15 places to let in Sligo, which is 6 fewer than were available a week ago. In Donegal, the number is 57, which is the same as last week, while the number of houses available in Roscommon is 12, which is one less than a week ago. So there is a severe lack of property for long-term rents here in the Northwest. In Donegal, 57 available. That being said, not wishing to upset anyone in the market, there are currently, even with the Easter holidays on and people already visiting the county, there are currently 1,000 full homes to rent in Donegal on a short-term basis on Airbnb. 1,000 homes. Now, those aren't rooms. Those are a mixture of small houses, townhouses, big houses, chalets. There's a number of them, about 70 odd of them. But over 1,000 houses to rent in Donegal in April, if you want to do it for a week, 2 weeks. But there is 57 if you need a house over your head for a long term. Is that right or wrong? I don't know what the answer to that is. 08660 25000 WhatsApps or texts. I mean, it's people's property. Are they entitled to do with it what they wish? The Donegal Democrat, they're covering the story. Comments from the chair of the Regional Health Forum West. The chair has described as shocking that the report into flooding which occurred at Letterkenny University Hospital in 2013 and 2014 has not been made available to the public. Sinn Féin councillor Jerry McMonagle was informed that legal advice has been sought as to the publication of that report. Let's go to the Nationals now. And, I mean, obviously, I don't see how it ends. Housing is the big story on the front page of most of the papers this morning. The majority of notices to quit in the last quarter of 2022 were given by landlords intending to sell their property amid projections that the private rental sector will shrink further this year. Some 2,513 notices out of an overall 4,329 were issued for this reason, accounting for almost 60% of the total, according to figures revealed by the Residential Tenancies Board. Though it must be said, there is quite a chunk of those that are going to remain in the rental market. Now, when we talk about 4,329 notices to quit, though that isn't individuals, that's properties. So, you know, that figure could be 20, 30,000 for all we know. There are going to be people in properties on their own, but there are going to be others, families of 6, even more perhaps. Well, anyway, the figure, they say, will increase pressure on the government to prevent the wave of notices translating into a surge in homelessness and to make good on its promises to support both landlords and renters. Estate agent Sherry Fitzgerald predicted yesterday that 15,000 tenancies could be lost from the private rental sector this year. Now, are you someone affected by that? Have you been given a notice to quit? What does it mean to you? Why don't you help us get the story out there and help people understand the reality of this situation? 086 60 25,000. That's your WhatsApps and texts. So call 07491 25,000. Is this the reality facing you? Maybe you might want to share your story, as I say, to help the general population understand what exactly is going on. Again, if you are a landlord exiting the market, and we have heard from them over the last couple of weeks, maybe you want to explain the reasons as to why, and why maybe you feel that the system is unfair to you. On to the Irish Independent now, and the state is being sued over 2 cases of alleged misdiagnosis of fatal fetal abnormalities which resulted in abortions. It was confirmed yesterday. This is a very uncomfortable story. The cases have been lodged with the State Claims Agency. There has also been 133 alleged adverse instances reported since January 1st, 2018 to February 28th this year relating to termination of pregnancy. The figures were provided in a parliamentary response to Aontú TD Peadar Tóibín. A previous case arising out of a misdiagnosis at the National Maternity Hospital was settled in the High Court in June 2021. It comes as a review of Health Regulations of Terminations of Pregnancy Act 2018 has been completed and is being examined by the Department of Health. It's expected to recommend that the mandatory 3-day waiting period for women having a medical abortion be relaxed. Meanwhile, in a series of parliamentary responses, Health Minister Stephen Donnelly said a review is also underway to decide if remote consultation for women seeking a medical abortion with their doctor introduced during the pandemic should become permanent. But the headline story there is 2 cases being taken. Now, that doesn't mean it represents every case that happened, but 2 cases being taken by people who had abortions as a result, they say, of a misdiagnosis of a fatal fetal abnormality. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and the most recent car buying figures have been released, and they show that the number of new electric vehicles sold so far this year was up nearly 50% on a year ago. A total of 3,421 new electric vehicles rolled off forecourts in March, compared with 1,924 in the same month last year. The sharp increase may be related to the fact that the grant towards buying an electric car is being cut by 30%. Currently, the maximum grant is 5,000, but from July 1st, it'll be 3,500. I don't believe that's got anything to do with it. I think if you're buying an EV, you're not going to rush out and buy one in March because you'll save €1,500. I really don't think that's the case. But anyway, that's what the paper concludes. So far this year, 9,303 new electric cars have been registered. That's a 49% increase on the same period in 2022. According to new statistics from the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, there were 58,000 odd new car sales in the first 3 months of the year. It's 16% ahead of a year ago. But petrol and diesel, let's see where the breakdown goes. Petrol continues to remain dominant at almost 1 in 3 new cars. So for those of you buying cars, a third of you buy petrol. Diesel still pretty popular, 22%. Hybrid, 20.6%. Electric, 16%. Plug-in hybrids, 8%. So in real terms, the sales so far this year, when you cut through all of the gobbledygook, 16% of new car sales so far this year are electric, all electric. 33% petrol, 22% diesel. So electric still well behind diesel. And then when you get into plug-in hybrids and hybrids, I think that's a different kettle of fish, and I'm glad to see those figures are being separated out clearly there. Your grocery bills, everyone's noticed it, haven't you? I think everyone's had the conversation in the house after coming back from your shop or getting your shopping delivered, which more people seem to be doing now than ever, that you just don't seem to be getting as much bang for the buck anymore. That bill that would have been 80 is now 120, or it feels like that. Or if you're of a bigger family, the bill that was 150 is now 200. Have you felt that? 086 60 25,000. And I want to say this one more time again. The cost of food is driving inflation. The increase in the price of food is driving inflation. And normally, the company's profits account for about a third in terms of contributing to inflation on food prices. Okay, at the moment it's 2/3. So what that means, effectively, unless someone proves me wrong, is that a lot of the shops, many of the shops, particularly the big boys, I suppose, that have most of the market, they're making more now than they ever did. Their profits are having a far bigger influence on inflation, which I think should be noted, and I think it's something they need to look at. But the cost of the annual groceries continues to soar, with analysts warning homes now face over €1,200 more than last year. A data firm that monitors grocery market share in Ireland warned in February that families' yearly bills would be €1,100 more than in 2022. But it released new figures yesterday to show costs are now estimated to rise by €1,211 if shoppers do not change their shopping habits. Amid the ongoing cost of living crisis, the Kantar company revealed that grocery price inflation rose again last month to reach 16.8%, up from 16.4% in February. A spokesperson said grocery inflation continues to rise and now stands at the figure I mentioned, 16.8. I don't know why they put so many figures in articles, because people just... You lose interest then. There's no need for the numbers and the percentage. Give us one or other and put it into context somewhere else in the article. But anyway, bottom line is €1,200 of an increase in your shopping bill, which is incredibly significant. That could be the holiday that you're scrimping and saving for, a short break somewhere, and now you can't do it because of the price of food going up. And as I say, quite a lot of that increase is an increase in profits. It's not all about their input costs and blah, 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 blah. You know, they could give us back a bit more, I think. Some do quite well on that, by the way. I'm not lumping everyone into the same basket, pun intended, but you know what I mean. Another big problem here, Irish Daily Mirror, and it's not a big problem if it doesn't affect you, right? So if you don't need to do a driving test, or if you don't have someone in your house that is waiting to get a driving test, this doesn't matter. Who cares, right? But if you've got a young person that wants to get to and from work, or if you yourself have been offered a job and you need to be driving to get to and from work because of our poor public transport network, you're going to have to wait forever. It's crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. There's companies being paid a fortune to provide this service, and it's just accepted that people have to wait 20 weeks, 5 months. Can you imagine? 5 months from application until you get your driving test. That's absolutely unbelievable. It's a disgrace. Well, wait times of nearly a year to sit driving tests are steering learners away from the road. Instructor Kevin Horgan, who has more than 28 years of experience, said the problem would get worse before it gets better. Figures released to RTE from the Road Safety Authority said the average time to get an invitation for the driving test was 20 weeks. But Kevin said for a busier centre such as Tallaght, South Dublin, it was significantly longer. Mr. Hogan, who founded the Lady Bird Driving School, told the Irish Mirror the RSA needs to increase testing capacity. And damn right they need to as well. So you can imagine the excitement of getting your theory, getting your lessons in. I mean, we have to do these lessons now, which probably makes sense, but they're of great expense, even though, you can't go out in the frost and the ice or at night. But anyway. And then you're waiting to get on the road, probably for work or whatever, and there's nothing you can do either. You can't appeal. The only time you can get anyway fast-tracked is if you are a HSE employer or you work in a care setting. You can apply to get fast-tracked, but not to go to from work. It's only if you drive at work. You have to drive at work. Anyway, so all bets are off after Daniel O'Donnell exclusively ruled himself out of the running for the Late Late Show. By coincidence, perhaps, maybe not. All bets are off because Claire Byrne is a near cert to become the next presenter of the Late Late Show. The talent pool in this country must be, and I have no problem with Claire Byrne, by the way, and I think she's immensely talented, but the talent pool in this country must be A, incredibly shallow, so there's only 3 people capable of doing any job for RTE, the company that you out there pay for, that you provide, you pay for it, or they're in a bubble down there and they don't want to see. Maybe there's someone excellent working for Cork Red FM or Shannon Side or I don't know, wherever. Maybe there's a blogger or someone on the internet that could do a fantastic job for this. But instead, what do? They look at the same familiar 2 or 3 faces and they pick out of that. I mean, and everyone just accepts it because it's... Anyway, Claire Byrne is a dead cert to become the next presenter of The Late Late Show. Bookies have stopped taking bets on the star to take over from Ryan Tubridy after his shock decision to quit. Ladbroke said there was a rush of bets placed on Claire despite her super slim odds of 1 to 3 before they pulled the market yesterday. But let me tell you, Claire Byrne will take over, and through no fault of her own, the ratings will go through the floor because we live in a very different world now. The ratings will go through the floor, and that show will be scrapped in its current form after the next season. Mark my words, Tuesday, 4th of April 2023. She'll have 1 season at it, and it will be either scrapped in its current form or scrapped altogether. All right, then, we have our own show to do here. Let's worry about that. Back with doing it after this break.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
Hurry, the last few days to enter our mega holiday giveaway. Buy a ticket for the Highland Radio Holiday Mega Draw today and you could be the lucky winner who will walk away with €10,000 to spend on a holiday of a lifetime and €5,000 in cash. Simply go to highlandradio.com and click on Win a Holiday. Winner will be announced on Thursday on the 9 to Noon Show.
House to Home Bridgend, Donegal. Our modest front door opens onto 2 floors of Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining and occasional furniture. Step into our showroom and see how we can transform your house into a home. House to Home furniture, flooring, slide robes and interiors, Bridgend, Donegal.
With the brighter days, it's only natural to think about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleetwood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleetwood would, naturally.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at
23 minutes past 9. Now, some of you will be off Good Friday. Others may not. It is a public holiday for some, not for others. Senator Marie Sherlock wants the playing fields levelled. She's Labour's Works Rights spokesperson and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Marie.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good to have you with us. I'm good, thank you. Right, so you believe the current situation is unfair. So how are people differentiated as it relates to being off or on?
Yeah, and look, Greg, I suppose, the first point to say is this is about a basic fairness and equality for all workers. I think every Good Friday there is a confusion about whether it is a public holiday or not. And obviously 20 years ago, almost everything was shut on Good Friday, but it has evolved very dramatically to a situation now where in some sectors it's a normal day of operation, like in retail or hospitality. And in other sectors, let's say like the banks, they were closed last Good Friday. I presume they'll be closed this Good Friday. We know the public libraries will be closed, and there are other state institutions that will close as well. And there's a basic inconsistency here. And I suppose my primary concern is that we spent a lot of the time during the pandemic talking about wanting to recognise the previously unseen workers, let's say like retail workers, frontline workers, security workers, cleaners, and to be honest, very little has been done for them now 3 years on since the start of the pandemic. And they're the people who have to go to work on Friday, whereas there's lots of people in higher income jobs who actually have the benefit of a day off. And I think, as you say, we want to level the playing field, make sure it's a public holiday, and if people have to go and work on that Friday, then they are recognised in respect of the public holiday and paid accordingly.
That, of course, has a significant impact on already struggling businesses, though, doesn't it? It's not just the stroke of a pen with no consequence, and everyone's treated equal. There is a significant impact on business, especially heading into maybe the tourism season. If it's starting now, start of a long weekend. You know yourself.
Well, I suppose this is the thing. Like, Good Friday is a unique day in that there is a very significant chunk of workers that are off, so they get to enjoy I suppose our villages, towns and cities in a way that those who are working don't get to. So there is, on one hand, additional business in certain sectors, or an increase in trade in certain sectors. And of course, the Easter Bank Holiday weekend has always been, a very busy time, particularly in retail and hospitality, or in hospitality at least. And I suppose the key issue is, are the workers working in that sector, who tend to be low paid, are they being recognised accordingly? So first and foremost, and I always say this, my primary interest is that businesses are open, because if businesses are not open, then there are no jobs and people don't have livelihoods. So that is number one. But number two, people have to live as well. And the key issue now, and we're seeing it not, I'm based here in Dublin, but I know even in parts of Donegal, there is shortages in terms of places to rent, affordability issues, and how do we support particularly low wage workers, and I suppose this comes back to the point that they have to go out and work a normal day on Friday, whereas many of the rest of us, it's treated like a day off.
Do you think the government missed a trick in that when we added an additional bank holiday, St. Bridget's Day, I think it is, around the start of February, that it should have perhaps been switched to Good Friday and recognised the workers that you talk of? I mean, that's what it was, its motivation to begin with.
Yeah, and look, it was very welcome that we have an additional public holiday now in Loyola Breda on St. Bridget's Day. But the reality actually is that Ireland tends to be at the bottom of the rankings when we compare Ireland across every other EU member state with the number of public holidays that we have in this country. So we have 10 public holidays now. The average across the EU is about 13. And I think, there's a debate about whether we should have more public holidays. But I suppose, going back to my original point, some businesses and some workplaces treat it like a public holiday, and others do not. And you'll have some businesses where within it, depending on when people started or not, that it is a public holiday for some and not for others. And listen, this week every year I usually get a whole litany of inconsistencies, but people telling me, stories of their workplace is closed, but this other workplace is open. So, ultimately, it's to say, if you want to open as a workplace, fantastic, that's great. But let's have a look at, what workers are actually paid on that day. And ultimately, this is part of the wider conversation about how we support all workers, but particularly low-paid workers in this country. And there is a very serious and chronic issue. So are you saying really this is what the net result of this might not be more people off? The reality is, in the people that you're talking of, it's people who might get a day in lieu or get extra pay for actually working that day anyway, mostly perhaps in the services industries and what have you. Precisely, Greg. The reality is, particularly since the change in the licensing laws, with regards to Good Friday, that Good Friday is typically a very good day for many in the hospitality sector. I know myself that there's certain events scheduled for Good Friday because of the uniqueness of the day. So ultimately, it is not about seeing more places closed, but actually ensuring that the workers, those who have to work on Good Friday, are recognised accordingly. Okay, we'll see. It's a nice call. I can't see the government doing anything on it in the short term anyway, but it opens up a conversation to see what the general public think as well. But thanks for your time this morning. Thank you, Greg.
Have a
Take
nice
care.
day. Senator Marie Sherlock, Labour Workers' Rights spokesperson. Would you be in favour of Good Friday being a public holiday for all? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Just to remind you once again, for the first time this year, I believe, Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centres in Letterkenny is going to be in studio with us a little later on, taking all your gardening questions. As I say, it's that time of the year where if you are lucky enough to have a garden or perhaps even some indoor planting, whatever, window box is probably too early for that. But we'll find out what you should be doing in and around the house to brighten the place up, I suppose. But any questions that you might have, get them into us now. 086 60 25,000. That's for WhatsApps and texts. So give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Did you know, and recently we were, as you know, did a show in Brussels, and a conversation came up in Brussels about pickpockets. The sign up on windows of various presents says, I can't speak today, my apologies, premises saying pickpockets operating in this area. And maybe if you go to London or Brussels or Paris or Barcelona, you might think that you're not safe. But when you come home, you are. Maybe not, because Ireland is actually in the top 10 list of pickpocketing holiday destinations. Travel insurance experts Quote Zone have revealed their pickpocket index. According to the Mirror, it ranks the most popular European holiday destination by the proportion of pickpocketing mentions in visitors' reviews. Italy and France have the two highest numbers of mentions. Ireland comes in 9th with 30 mentions of pickpocketing per 1 million visitors. A very low rate, but we're in the top 10. And often we go away and we're all worried about what might happen to us and what have you. And perhaps maybe sometimes you're in more danger at home. Who's to say? 086 60 25,000 if you want to get a view on that. Right, I want to say hello to a gentleman's wife and daughter. It's Tommy Redmond. His wife and daughter are holidaying with his wife's parents at their home just outside Carragart this week. They listen to the show every morning, and I was hoping you could arrange for a mention for my wife Claire Redmond, my daughter Freya, and my in-laws Dominic and Janice McGeehan. Dominic and Janice, you're very welcome to Donegal again. I know they are enjoying their time together, so if you could say hi from Stewarton in Ayrshire on the west coast of Scotland, that would be wonderful and really make their day. Claire and Freya return home on Thursday. So we got the mention in on time. So I hope you're having a lovely time here in Donegal, up in Carragart. And I know you listen to the show. It's great to have you listening, if you are, here in Ireland. Okay, enjoy your stay and enjoy the area. Okay, let's take a quick break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to roll out the red carpet and celebrate the best and brightest in the business world for the Highland Radio Customer Service Awards in association with PGM Ireland.
From your local community centre to your favourite pet shop or your friendly dentist, we're recognising the businesses who are making a difference in your community.
This award is a great way to show your appreciation for the businesses that make a difference in your life.
But you better act fast. The deadline for entries is just around the corner. So visit our website and nominate now. Nominations close this Friday, the 7th of April.
I remember you. Hi, this is May McFetrich here. Come and see me, the delightful Olivia Nash, in a happy medium at the Alley Theatre in Strabane on the 13th of April. Join me for a laugh as I enter the spirit world and reveal all. Tickets from the theatre box office or online.
You could run, you could dance, or you could just breathe. The Bernardo's Big Active, supported by Aldi, is happening in schools across Ireland right now, and it makes doing good feel great. It gets classmates of all ages active while supporting their mental health and well-being. The Bernardo's Big Active, supported by Aldi, will raise vital funds to help Ireland's most vulnerable children.
Sign up today at bernardos.ie/bigactive.
The Groom Go goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio, and we're joined on the programme now by Mark. Good morning to you, Mark.
Morning, Greg.
Good to have you on the programme. Okay, right, obviously,
thank you.
We've been talking about the housing crisis this morning, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. You've spotted something in your area that doesn't sort of make sense, I suppose, in this environment then?
No, I live in Letterkenny, but we just happen to be up around the phone quite a lot. And there's a social housing scheme there on development since before the COVID. And it was locked down and all. And then these houses have been lying now since before Christmas, and there's been no further work done on them. And I asked them, some of the people, the local people, and they said that above they're gone washed. And just
Mark, unfortunately, listen, I can't hear a word you're saying there. I don't know if it's the telephone line or how you're holding the phone. Do you want us to reconnect with you, or can you maybe get into a more sheltered area?
Hello?
Yeah, no, I can't. We'll reconnect with Mark. Is that okay, Caroline? My apologies. It's just I simply just can't hear him, and if I can't hear him with headphones on, there's just no chance you listening wherever you are might be able to do so, and it's an important point. Okay. Just a quick reminder, by the way, because there's only a couple of short days left for you to be in with a chance to win €15,000 prize here at Highland Radio. It's a €10,000 travel voucher in association with our friends at Atlantic Travel, and €5,000 cash, described as spending money, but you can do with it what you wish, of course. You can win that prize worth 15 grand in total by buying a ticket in our Holiday of a Lifetime with Highland Radio competition. Just go onto our website, by the way, highlandradio.com. You can get one ticket for a tenner if you wish, and if you can afford it, of course, you know. If you want to get 6, you can pay 50, so they're cheaper. If you want to get 10, you can pay 80. So if you want to gift them out or group in with other people and get them cheaper at the time. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that, but anyway, but I know that's what I would do. If there was 6 people in the house, I'd say, well, listen, I'll buy the tickets. You all give me the €8, wherever it is, as a deduction. But anyway, that's by the by. I'm just tight. The lines close on Thursday morning, and the draw will be made thereafter. So if you want to be in with a chance to win, get in. Now, this is not a 60, 70, 80,000 entry competition here that you might see on Facebook, what have you. This is our competition here for us in the Northwest, and other people can enter, of course, but you know what I mean. So you're in with a good chance of winning, a better chance of winning, should I say. I don't want to misrepresent it. Highlandradio.com, click on Win a Holiday, answer a simple question, then choose whether you want 1, 6 or 10 tickets. And if you don't want to, it's perfectly safe and secure and quick and easy. But if you want to give us a call, 07491 25,000, we'll sort you out that way as well right now. So we'll be giving that money away actually on Thursday morning. 15 grand in total, a €10,000 voucher for one massive holiday or multiple smaller holidays, and €5,000 in cash. Right. I stopped watching the Late Late Show years ago. I would just occasionally tune in to try and get back into it, but all of the shows on RTE have the same faces now. It is typical RTE and their nepotism that no one else got a look in, and they all just seem to look after their own. I don't understand it either. But you see, what it is someone's afraid to make big decisions. Like even the Dancing with the Stars, I don't watch that show, but it was a presenter on their radio station that won it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what does that do to the wider public? And not an awful lot of people listen to that radio show either. But anyway, I say if they should be brave, throw the net wider and see who they could get in, launch new talent, make a new superstar. I mean, who made the superstars? The likes of Eamon Andrews, you might remember, Graham Norton, Terry Wogan, and the list is endless. They go on, Jerry Kelly, and on and on and on, people that did very well here and then went on to sort of international success. They're not doing that now. It's the same pot of older people too, by the way. And I can say that, right? Because I'm in the ballpark of Tubridy and Clare and the others that are being considered for that. Give someone in their early 30s a chance, or late 20s, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Be brave, but they're not. It's the same old faces. And if you don't get the Late Show job, you're going to get an interview on it anyway. Such is the small pool that they draw talent from. Why can't they just get good driving instructors from different countries to go to other countries and get all the waiting lists down? It's common sense, gets all those waiting to learn to drive a chance too. Okay, but they tried that with the NCTs. They tried to change some of the dynamics of who works in NCTs and bring other people in. There was a resistance from unions to that. Could that be the same in this sector? I don't know. A caller says, I doubt they are in a bubble at RTE, government bubble. Nobody else gets a look in. Right, okay, is Mark back with us now? Hi, Mark.
Hi, Greg.
All right, that's a little bit better because it's an important point you're making. Right, okay. So you you're from Letterkenny, but you noticed a project being developed in Riffo. Talk to me about it.
It's been on now for, it must be at least 3 years. And there didn't seem to be any real move on it at the start, they were like that quick on the ball. And then the lockdown came along, and after the lockdown, it sort of opened up again. And more work getting done on it. The roofs get put on the houses and stuff. The windows were done, they were plastered. But just then the boulders went away, and there's been a fence pulled around the site there since before Christmas time, and nobody's come back near it now. And from what I know, the boulders gone bust, and the council doesn't seem to have made any shape to make a move on the site.
All right, personally, I don't know the status of the builder, but these are fine houses. It doesn't look like it would take an awful lot to get them into use.
Looking at them from the outside, they look like if you had the footracks and the steps and services hooked up, that you'd be good to go. But I believe there's a lot of work to be done on the site. They're just more or less shells. They're just empty shells.
Right, okay. But still, with the will, there's a way.
Sorry?
If there was a will, there would be a way to get them into use very quickly, I'd imagine.
Well, the current function plan, if you would think that we'll move on these to get them finished up and get people moved on.
Yeah. Okay, listen.
What's been talked about in the radio this morning, it's terrible to see that site lying the way it's lying.
100%. All right, Mark, thanks for your point. I appreciate you coming on. Again, apologies, the line wasn't great. Mark's busy. We appreciate his time this morning. Good morning. Can you get some info on ESB smart meters that are to be fitted? What are they? How do they work? Thank you. Well, we did a feature on those when the rollout began and was well underway not so long ago. Maybe it is something we can revisit. Hi, Greg. Just wanted to highlight if people seen the video circulating on social media regarding the door staff in a nightclub in Northern Ireland where he looks to headbutt a young man. Thought it was sickening to watch when these people are there to protect you. Hope our door staff in this county do not act in the same manner. For the most part, no, of course not. It is sickening. It happens, though. It happens regularly. That one was filmed, but those videos, I don't watch them personally because I couldn't really like to see someone get hurt like that, but it does happen. That's just the bottom line. Hopefully the licensed premises is held to account for it. Well, Greg, I believe you should be able to do as you please with your property. If that means you want to turn it into an Airbnb so that you can have your place back at short notice, why not? Housing is a government issue, and it's not fair for housing solutions to be pushed upon the likes of you and me. I know you don't have a second property, Greg, but that doesn't mean it won't happen someday. You could potentially be left property in a will. You've got some rich listeners out there. I don't think I'm going to be left one in a will either. But no, I do understand your point, and I have made it on a couple of occasions here on this show that, you know, people don't tell you what to do with your pension or other investments. And I know some people invested in property or found themselves with a property, and we've spoken to them. The government already has an awful lot of control over what you can do with it. Make no mistake, the soon to be established, if they can get it across the line, the soon to be established rules as it relates to Airbnb, the net effect of that is that they can decide where housing need is most and effectively switch the tap off on Airbnb and coerce or encourage homeowners to give that property for long-term rents. And that's not for everyone either. But that's effectively what that law would do. It was initially to be in rent pressure zones, and then they've sort of spread it out to be wherever. And if they say, right, we need more properties in Donegal, well, they don't issue the planning permission for Airbnbs in Donegal, and then people will say, right, well, we need some return from it, so what we'll do is we'll put it into the long-term rental market. So it's coercion, if it's not control, at least. Some people, though, think that's the right thing to do. I mean, we asked independent Thomas Pringle what he would do if he were in power or had influence, and he said no tax or very little tax for long-term renters and tax Airbnb providers to the hilt. So there is that political mindset out there as well, and made no bones about it either. All right, okay. Park joins me on the programme now. Park, thanks for taking the call today. Are you there, Park? You are? Hello? No, I don't have Park. Let me take a break while we get him.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to roll out the red carpet and celebrate the best and brightest in the business world for the Highland Radio Customer Service Awards in association with PGIM Ireland.
From your local community centre to your favourite pet shop or your friendly dentist, we're recognising the businesses who are making a difference in your community.
This award is a great way to show your appreciation for the businesses that make a difference in your life.
But you better act fast. The deadline for entries is just around the corner. So visit our website and nominate now. Nominations close this Friday, the 7th of April.
Serve up a feast this Easter with Dunnes Stores. Enjoy 20% off Board Bia quality assured Irish meat. Choose centre cut Irish ham, a rack of Irish lamb with all the trimmings, or a tender cut of beef like our sirloin roast. That's 20% off a great selection of mains for your Easter meal. Plus, you can save again at the till with our 10 off 50 grocery vouchers. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Vouching abused in next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Wheezing or sneezing? When you're feeling under the weather, your local Brennan's Pharmacy can help. Rest, fluids and simple pain relief are the most effective remedies for a common cold. But if you find that you're coughing so hard that your chest hurts, or if it's disrupting your sleep, just ask our pharmacist to recommend the best solution for a speedy recovery. For all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, we're here for you at Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslaw.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, some rain and drizzle early this morning, but it will become mainly dry. This afternoon, though, rain will develop in the west and will spread right across the region. Highest temperatures of 11 or 12 degrees with moderate to fresh southerly breezes. Now, Kieran Sheridan is with the Health Division of SIPDU for Donegal. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Kieran,
morning,
thank you for joining us. Right, now, retired SIPDU members, representatives, are presenting themselves to HSE offices in Manorhamilton in a step-up in their campaign over pension arrears. So what's the background to this action, Kieran, please?
Greg, as a background, I work in health in Donegal, but I also am a coordinator of the Sligo Leeds from Roscommon District Council, and we have a retired members committee. And there is issues that's relevant to retired personnel. Our committee met last week and members had expressed concerns about monies that were pension rises that they were owed going as far back as the 2nd of February 2022, and they haven't received them. And again, we're all aware of the cost of living crisis and the cost of energy and inflation, and I've even seen a figure of 13% for food inflation last week. Our pensioners are under pressure. And this is money that they're owed, that they've made contributions to. And there's a member that I spoke to last week, and this to give you the personal element of it. A gentleman, a very, very proud member, who gives decades of exemplary service, and I do stress decades of exemplary service, who was actually caught up in a scenario he was going to have to contact family members for a help out, for a handout, because he was actually struggling to pay an electricity bill. And that's the human effect.
Now, this isn't a top-up or a bonus or a boost. This is money that was agreed but has yet to be paid.
Yes, Greg. I suppose if you go back in time, pensions would have been linked to pay rises. You know what I mean? Not index-linked, but as pay progression proceeds to the public service, there's a set fee also goes to pensioners. So if I get 2% as a public servant, the pensioner also should get 2%. So in the last pay deal, to just give you the figures, there was 3% agreed from the 2nd of February, 1.5% from the 1st of October 2022, and 2% from the 1st of March just gone. And there's been no payment issued. None whatsoever.
Has there been any explanation issued?
We issued a correspondence last Friday to the HSE advising that we have a delegation going to Manorhamilton this morning, and we asked 2 questions. One was the reason for the delay, and 2, a timeline for payment. We received an ambiguous email that has actually raised more need for clarifications than given us any definitive answers, to say that they're quoting a circular that ceased to exist from 2020 on, and they're basically saying they're looking after 44,000 retirees across the country, and that they go through every one on an individual basis. Like, this is shocking in the extreme, because we would have understood, with payroll systems and the massive capital investment into payroll structures and pensions, you would imagine that, okay, there is financial governance and proper audit, and once all those rules are met, you would think that there would be a simple version of inputting data, and that the computer system or the IT system should be able to come out with a result rather than individually going through every individual person. But there's 44,000 members or 44,000 retirees across the country, we understand, is affected by this. So we're going up there this morning at 10:30. There is a delegation. We believe at the 11th hour it was indicated to us that there was nobody available, but I think this was just an effort to avoid actually meeting our members, and because members were going to give personal narratives of how it's affecting them.
All right, shall we hear one of those, if that's okay? Pádraig, is with us and is a pension holder and affected by this. Pádraig, thanks for taking the call this morning.
No problem. Thanks very much yourself.
And what's your situation, Pádraig, as much as you want to talk about, and how this is impacting on you?
Well, the main reason that I'm going to Manorhamilton this morning is that, this pay increase is due since the 2nd of February 2022, and I suppose if to put that into perspective for your listeners, that's 3 weeks before Russia invaded Ukraine. And, we're all aware of all that has happened in the world since then. It's been a long time, nearly 15 months at this stage. The cost of living increases have been substantial. And I'm not exempt any more than anybody else. My wife is a pensioner, the same as I am. And, we have been reasonable. We understood that, when I was a worker, I always understood that the workers got their, their pay calculated and their increases, and the pensioners were a little bit behind. But I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that after 15 months we'd have our arrears got and our basic pay updated.
Yeah, it has been well over a year now, as you've just outlined. And we heard there from Kieran, and it seems to be that what the HSE is saying is that they have to go through every one of the 44,000 people individually to check their... I mean, that I don't know how long that would take.
To me, it doesn't make much sense, because, I'm sure you are as aware as I am of the PPAR system that was put into place. And, we were told after all the millions and millions that it cost that anything could be done just at the press of a button, that this was going to be the real deal for the future. So I can't understand. I really don't. I really can't understand why they would have to go through everybody's pension, because, like, I retired a while ago, and I mean, it took 3 months nearly for my pension to be paid to me when I retired. So, I mean, there was quite a lot of effort put into calculating my pension. I have no doubt it was correct, and I cannot see why they just don't have the percentage increase to it. One would imagine that it is, as we were told at that stage, that anything that for the future, that this was future-proof, that all it took was the push of a button and anything could be calculated at that stage.
Yep.
So I have issues about that. I worry about where it's leading. I suppose we're all kind of half paranoid in Ireland at the moment that somebody is trying to take something off us.
Yeah, well, listen.
I'm no different than anybody else.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, too, well, you are different to other people in this way, in that most of us are feeling the pressures of inflation. You quite rightly referenced all the increases in costs. It's even worse for you, though, because your income is much less than it should be. So you're feeling the cost of living crisis, the inflation situation worse than...
The cost of living crisis has affected everybody in Ireland. But, I would arguably say, and I'm not trying to corner the market, that it has affected pensioners as much, if not more than others, because, pensioners are trying to do the best by their families. How many, and I'm sure you're well aware of too, how many people have come back to live at home in the last year? Because whether they can't get accommodation in Dublin or they can't afford to live in Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming back and they're living with their parents, and the parents are trying to help them out with mortgages, or they're trying to help them out,
with deposits or whatever it might be. Yeah,
with their living, but that's what I'm saying, with their deposits, or even with money to live from week to week, with the cost of childcare and the cost of everything else. It's gone extremely difficult for people to live at this stage. The grandparents and the pensioners are always there to help out, but they're feeling the pinch themselves now.
Well, you also have to you also have worked very hard and contributed to best assure yourself, and you did believe you were doing so, to give you a decent standard of living in your retirement, so you can enjoy the time with your wife, and that's been taken from you because of the delays in this money being given to you. Parg, listen, thank you for helping us understand that greater. Kieran Sheridan with the Health Division of SIPTU for Donegal. I mean, do you believe, especially given that most latest response, that the can's been kicked down the road, this is being pushed on to a different administration, or do you believe that the systems simply aren't there to process them to process these increases as you would like to see?
I'd be shocked if the systems aren't in place, Greg, because, as Porrick said, there's been massive investment. We're hearing anecdotal stuff that there's a staffing crisis in pensions, and, maybe if that's true, it needs to be addressed. But we actually believe at the minute it's kicked the can down the road to buy time. We got an 11th hour offer to meet us in 3 weeks' time. That's not acceptable. You know what I mean? We've been more than reasonable, as Porrick has said. We've 15 months waiting. There's money's owed. There's people living week to week. I'm not going to repeat what Porrick said, but people, it's at crisis mode. People cannot go on.
Okay,
they just cannot go on. It's shocking. It's having a massive negative impact on the quality of life after decades of exemplary public service.
All right, Kieran. Well, that representations are being made at 10:30, so we'll let you go. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, listeners.
Kieran Sheridan there and Porrick. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Great special offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Housekeeper's Cut, save 33%. Graham Norton Sauvignon Blanc, €10. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. So follow the 1, 2, 3 and save money at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonahur Road, Donegal Town.
Wheezing or sneezing? When you're feeling under the weather, your local Brennan's Pharmacy can help. Rest, fluids and simple pain relief are the most effective remedies for a common cold. But if you find that you're coughing so hard that your chest hurts, or if it's disrupting your sleep, just ask our pharmacist to recommend the best solution for a speedy recovery. For all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, we're here for you at Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslaw.
Transform your garage with an electric roller garage door from Garola. It's time to modernise with a fully fitted roller door from just €997. With 21 colours to choose from, we'll even take your old garage door away. Book your free survey today. Call 1800 827 515 or visit garola.ie.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. With over 50 years of experience, we pride ourselves in providing a top-class customer experience. Keen fuel prices, convenience shop, hot deli, hardware.
And Frosty's famous special recipe ice cream.
Family-run, helpful staff and service with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Minister Charlie McConalogue says a number of major school projects in Inishowen remain on schedule and he's confident they will not be delayed. He was speaking after Education Minister Norma Foley said that Gaelscoil na Garamashtree in Donegal Town is the only Donegal project which has been stalled as a result of a review of costs by the Department of Public Expenditure. Asked about Moville Community College, where works have been outstanding for a lengthy period, Minister Foley said it continues to go through the normal procedure. That's been echoed by Minister McConalogue.
For the main contract has been identified. The ETB now are waiting for final go-ahead in relation to the electrical and mechanical subcontracts. The school has made a massive difference to North and Inishowen when it was built 20 years ago, but the school has never been finished. Half of the school is in prefabs. It doesn't have the facilities that a school of its stature and of its educational service provision or students or staff deserves.
Ishka Aaron says it's investigating reports of water supply disruptions in Clonmany and surrounding areas with more information to follow. Local people have told Highland Radio News it's the second day of disruption with breaks in supply in some areas since lunchtime yesterday. There may be traffic disruptions as the cause of the issue is investigated. The Taoiseach says the government was well aware of an exodus of small landlords when it decided not to extend the evictions ban. However, Leo Varadkar says it wasn't aware of the exact number of termination notices issued prior to the decision being made. It comes as the RTB estimates up to 15,000 landlords could leave the private rental sector this year. The Taoiseach Leo Varadkar says he's satisfied that continuing the ban would have made the problem worse.
Not the exact number, but we did know, and I think everyone knows, that for a number of years now we've seen an exodus of small landlords from the rental market. We were certainly aware that that was an issue, and that's one of the things that's contributing to the housing crisis, and continuing the ban for longer would have caused more landlords to exit the market, thus making the problem worse.
In Donegal, 88 eviction notices were reactivated following the lifting of the ban at midnight on Friday. Donegal Deputy Piers Doherty says he's aware of at least one family which is now facing having to sleep in their car.
In one conversation that my office had with a family was a case of that they have nowhere to go. There's nowhere available to them to rent at the price that they can afford, and they're talking to the local authority about sleeping in their car. This is just not acceptable that you would have a family in the northwest in that situation. But this was always the reality when the government decided to end its eviction ban without any plan in place.
And the Inishowen councillor believes the old health centre in Clonmany could be repurposed for use by local sports clubs. The facility on Billion Road has been lying vacant for a number of years now while remaining in the possession of the HSE. Councillor Albert Doherty says priority needs to be given to placing the building on the open market.
I have now put it to the HSE Capital and Estates that they must go through the requirements that are necessary in order that if there's no interest internally, that the HSE now prioritise putting this building and that they be open to an interested community group.
4 out of every 5 ambulances spent over 30 minutes at an emergency department last year before offloading a patient and getting back on the road. The HSE's target is less than half an hour. That was only met in 20.8% of cases last year, according to Freedom of Information files. Anecdotally, we're told it's a regular problem at Letterkenny University Hospital. David Hall, the Chief Executive of Lifeline Ambulance Service, says the problem is caused by overcrowded emergency departments.
The emergency departments are under immense pressure, and then you have sick people coming in via
ambulance on top of that, and physically having somewhere to put people, having a suitable place within the emergency department to put somebody, and having the staff and the time to be able to take handovers from patients by ambulance staff and paramedic staff is causing a knock-on effect of a delay, and that ambulance is now off the road.
Ryanair has called on the Transport Minister to make sure anti-drone equipment at Dublin Airport is ready for the busy Easter period. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to fly in and out of the airport over the next 2 weeks. With more, here's Stephanie Rowan.
Flights at Dublin Airport had to temporarily stop 6 times in the first 8 weeks of this year due to illegal drone activity. The government's promised new anti-drone technology to tackle the problem, but it's not in place yet. Ryanair is now calling on the Transport Minister to make it ready for this week and next during the busy Easter period. A spokesperson says Eamon Ryan must protect passengers so they don't suffer any closures or disruptions over the next few weeks.
Weather forecast, there was some rain and drizzle this morning. That's easing and it will become mainly dry for the rest of the day, with highest temperatures on today, Tuesday, of 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, April the 4th. The death has taken place of Owen McCullough, 156 Brookfield Terrace, Malin. Owen's remains will repose at his home from 5 o'clock this evening. Funeral leaving his home on Thursday afternoon at 12:15 for 1 o'clock funeral service in St Mary's Church, Lag Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, donations if desired to their coronary care unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. Owen's funeral service can be viewed live on the Malin Head Community Facebook page. The death has taken place of Kathleen Doherty, 3 Millfield Buncrana, and formerly of Karen Malin Head. Removal from Murphy's Funeral Home Burnfoot this afternoon at 3 o'clock, going to her late residence at Karen Malin Head. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, going to the Star of the Sea Chapel, Malin Head, for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Lag Cemetery, Malin. The death has taken place of Caden Coyle McGeady, Chapel Road, Brinlack. Removal from the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny at 12 noon today, going to his home. Wake from 2:30 this afternoon and from 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Rosary at 8 o'clock nightly. House private after Rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral service in Chap Hubble Column Kilknock Fola on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral service can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to the Children's Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Yvonne Hines, née O'Gorman, 15 Old Mill Court, Sion Mills, reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Teresa's Church, Sion Mills at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to Multiple System at Trophy, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. And the death has taken place of Bridget O'Donnell, née Walsh, Crowson Downs, Sligo and formerly of Dunlow, Donegal. Mass of the Resurrection will be celebrated at St Anne's Church, Sligo today at 12 noon and will be live streamed via mcnmedia.tv. Burial follows in Sligo Cemetery. Family flowers only please by request. Family home private. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Like cracking Easter offers from Aldi. Cadbury Dairy Milk Chunky Egg 400 gram, only $9.99. Plus Super 6 fresh Irish meat and fish offers, like smoked Coley fillets save 13%, only $2.59. And milk chocolate filled mini eggs for 79¢, which saves even more of your Easter bunny money. Nah, I don't like it like that. I love it. Aldi, every day amazing. Chunky egg offer limited to 2 per customer while stocks last.
Some of your comments coming in so far this morning. RTE, we're never going to look outside the building for a presenter of the Late Late Show. It's a national disgrace that an organisation which is funded by the people has absolutely no transparency in how it operates. A big percentage of the employees are sons or daughters of previous employees who've retired. I pay my licence fee every year, but hardly any of my friends have ever paid. They say this is due to the total lack of originality and variety in programming and the extraordinary amount of cookery programmes on every day of the week. Well, the majority of programmes from morning until quite late are British programmes or American programmes you can watch for free on ITV2 or Great TV or any of those channels. Anyway, good morning. Good Friday. Everyone should work. If someone wants to take 1 hour off the service, then back to work they should be okay. Oh no, we wouldn't want that, would we? I'm off Good Friday. Unless I take between 10 and 11 off on Friday. The pension non-payment to retirees, they should refer it to the Pensions Ombudsman's office. I would hope they've done that already. A caller says that she has no idea of what her HSE pension actually is and no idea when they're due to arise or what the story is. She received a call 7 years into receiving the pension to say she was being paid short for the whole time and she was owed €10,000. But how can you really know what your pension should be? They say just phone up, but that doesn't work since when you call, they tell you they cannot give you the information. I don't know the answer to that. I presume if you're in the same space as Parg was, you were due a rise February last year, but you might be in a. I would imagine. Sorry, really, what I'm trying to get to here. I'd imagine the whole pensions and payment systems within the HSE are incredibly complex. I wonder if they're still using Windows 11's computer. Windows 11 computers in the HSE. They were up until quite recently. There's no water in the Urus area of Clonmany since yesterday evening. Does anyone know what's going on? I don't know what's causing it. I do know Irish Water know. They say at this time that they are investigating it, that they're aware of the problems with updates to follow. Those updates never actually follow, it seems. Let me see what they say here. When they posted this, right, 45 minutes ago. So maybe they're only getting to it now and no one rang in. We're currently investigating reports of a supply disruption to Clonmany and surrounding areas. More information will follow. 15 hours ago, they posted, we're currently investigating reports of a supply disruption to Clonmany and surrounds. More information to follow. Okay, so in 15 hours, they've gone from investigating reports to continuing to investigating reports, and the more information to follow was them reposting the same information. So unfortunately, I'm a bit hamstrung. I can't help you any further in that regard, but we'll get in contact with them to see if we can get any updates. But they recognise the problems there. So what's the government's plan, asks a caller. End tourism. Many people depend on a holiday let for an income. Why should the people be forced to house the homeless while the government does nothing for the homeless? Thomas Pringle's barking up the wrong tree with this one. And I don't believe I was misquoting him. He wanted no tax or very little tax for long-term renters, big tax for people who are in the Airbnb market. But he's not alone. He's not an outlier. There are many in opposition that are of the same view. This caller says, I was sitting at the Lewis station outside St James Hospital yesterday, and there were two ladies sitting on the opposite platform chatting away. Two men then sat very close beside them, which seemed strange, and one of the men leaned over to see if there was anything in one of the ladies' jacket pockets. As she was turned towards her friend, the man spotted that I was watching, and they then boarded the Lewis. The area around there and the Lewis doesn't seem to be safe. Looks like they're identifying a couple of pickpockets there. Do you know if many people are having difficulty receiving a bill from Electric Ireland, asks this listener. I'm supposed to receive a bill monthly and haven't had a bill in 2 months. I called them yesterday and they just stated that they're experiencing problems issuing bills to some customers and they will get back to me at some stage. Thanks. It sounds like they may have answered the question for you, a bizarre one. Any other Electric Ireland customers out there? They are the biggest company for electricity provision in terms of customers. So maybe you can cast a bit more light onto that issue. A caller says, I genuinely thought Miriam or Sarah would get The Late Late Show. But I do remember that Claire Byrne mentioned, I'd love a crack at Sean O'Rourke's show when she had her weekend show in May and she got it in August. Okay. But you can't forget Swinggate, as I was in a car and 5 minutes later I thought it was actually gift grub. I almost had to check my homework afterwards. The last time a quiz fronted by fellow blonde, followed by a TV soap. T-Lo? Okay. That's Kevin from Dunlow, who's always a bit cryptic. Slightly too cryptic for me this morning, Kevin. She goes on to say, though, although CB wasn't in the A team. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate your input and your time. I want to say a request now, if that's okay, for Mary Begley. She's in Ballyhurtfanad, celebrating her birthday today. Best wishes to you, Mary, from Susan and Seamus. And a very quick reminder for you, just if you're tuned in here, we've 2 days left on our €15,000 competition. That's what it's worth, effectively. It's a €10,000 holiday voucher, travel voucher. So it doesn't have to be for holidays, by the way. You can use this to go back and forth to visit family till you're blue in the face, really effectively, if you wanted to, until the 10,000's expired. It's a €10,000 travel voucher, €5,000 in cash. We've labelled it spending money. I mentioned last week, maybe it could be a new bathroom or part of a new kitchen or whatever it might be. It's all in association with Atlantic Travel. You can get your tickets on our website right now, highlandradio.com. Click on Win a Holiday, answer a simple question. You can buy yourself one ticket, and it could be the lucky ticket, €10. I think the last winner was a single ticket. One of the prizes was anyway. But if you want to, you can get 6 for 50, 10 for 80, so they're cheaper. And that's even if you want to group in with other people. Just to let you know that... the lines will close, entry lines will close in terms of access. 11 a.m. on Thursday. Draw will be made half an hour later on this show, so someone will win 15 grand effectively. If you want to give us a call too, you can get your tickets that way, 07491 25,000. Right, coming up shortly, a little later on in fact, Paul McLaughlin, he's back with us. The gardener is back. Ballochdur Garden Centres, Paul McLaughlin. We're going to be talking gardening. I haven't a clue, haven't even looked at it. Mine is not really a lawn. It's kind of a field with shortened grass. Cows like to seem to go in there, which is a problem. But anyway, who cares? And also, I do like my potted plants. I think it's all a bit early for that stuff. But we'll ask Paul what's in trend, what's coming up, what could we be doing, what should we be doing, and what should we hold back on doing. A lot of people getting their first cut done. Is it too soon? I don't know. But we'll get answers to all of those questions for you, so stay tuned for that. But get them into us, 086 60 25,000. I want to make sure your questions are answered. A caller says, I often hear young ones telling me they don't feel appreciated in their jobs here. A little praise would go a long way, and they certainly would appreciate their jobs. So to be honest, I've heard that's another reason our young are leaving. They don't feel valued. Look there are some employers, that are afraid to praise their employees. They're afraid to say, well done, good job, nice one, because they're afraid of them coming back and saying, is there any chance of a pay rise? You said I was doing good in my work. I think there's an awful lot of that in Irish business, that people are afraid to praise their workers for fear it could cost them in the pocket. Is that part of the problem, I wonder? 086 60 25,000. There's also a general acceptance that you're on minimum wage in certain jobs. So if you're 16, 17 and you want to get a start, you'll, for the most part, get the basic bottom dollar. And then as you get older, it increases. I think people would get more out of workers if they rewarded them a little bit. You know, if you gave them that extra 70 cent to a 17-year-old, it's a big deal. How much might you get back in terms of productivity? This caller says, I'm so sick of all this chat about landlords. I have a tenant for 2 years. In the beginning, a model tenant. We had a good relationship. He paid the rent and I had no issues. In return, I filled the tank with oil in the winter free, and at Christmas gave him a month's rent free. Wow, that's really generous. Then all this chat about wealthy landlords started and he just stopped paying the rent. When I said I need to pay a mortgage, he doesn't care and threatens me with all kinds of violence on social media and social media campaigns. So he's being evicted. To say he's going to go on social media to say he's being evicted. I can assure you, when I get him this house, which has to be my pension plan, will be sold. So when I get him out, this house, which is my pension plan, will be sold. It's so unfair to me and my family. So that's sounds like a model landlord there. The tenant started playing up a little bit, and now they want to get him out, get the house sold and get the money out of it. All right, we'll be back with Community Garda information after these.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, April 4th. You're playing on a brown coloured sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 14. The numbers are the number 1, 62, 18, 15, 30, 24, the number 4, 69, the number 2, and 28. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Are you still struggling with slow and unreliable broadband? Imagine is connecting thousands of homes to high-speed broadband in your area right now. So why wait? With Imagine rated excellent by Trustpilot, you'll soon be working from home with ease, streaming your favourite shows and sports uninterrupted. Join the thousands of connected homes and businesses today at imagine.ie. Service subject to availability, terms and conditions apply.
Savings to put a spring in your step. Fly with Loganair from Donegal to Glasgow Airport and save up to 15% during our sale now on. With more destinations available from City of Derry Airport too. Book by the 11th of April at loganair.co.uk. Travel from the 29th of April. Subject to availability, exclusions apply. Loganair. For all the times.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It is 22 minutes past 10 on this Tuesday, the 4th of April, 2023. It's time for our latest edition of Community Garda Information. And back in studio with us is Garda Niall Maguire of the Milford Garda District. Good morning to you and thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks for having me on, Greg.
Great to have you. Right, okay, quite a bit to get through, so we'll start with the appeals if that's okay. And Garda looking for the public's help in relation to an assault in Letterkenny at the end of March.
Yes, we have a few crime appeals this morning, Greg, that we need the public's assistance with. The first one is an assault at Lower Main Street, Letterkenny, at approximately 11:40 p.m. last Wednesday, the 29th of March. A man was assaulted outside a licensed premises by another man. The injured man was taken to Letterkenny Hospital by ambulance to receive treatment for injuries after he was assaulted, none of which are believed to be life-threatening. So a standard appeal in relation to a usual assault, unfortunately, on the main street in Letterkenny. If anyone saw this assault or thinks they may know the other party involved, please contact my colleagues in Letterkenny, 074 9167 100. And also, because we have the exact time, Greg, 11:40 p.m, anybody that was down the main street with a dash cam, would they please mind hand it over to the garage? And again, with dash cams, you can just hand over your memory card and we'll swap it out with a new one.
Yeah, okay. And listen, not talking to this particular case, but a person being assaulted and not having life-threatening injuries doesn't always tell the full story, does it? No, as I say, we're not talking of this particular case, but it can be quite serious at times too.
Yeah, it's all too common, Greg. we see a lot of assaults outside public houses, usually as a result of intoxication, and some of the injuries you see, Greg, can be like it doesn't have to be anything life-threatening, but it can be serious for the person involved. Missing teeth, broken jaws, eye sockets. Yeah, that's the kind of typical thing that we see, Greg, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's horrendous, really, isn't it? Okay, let's talk now about some criminal damage which occurred in Culdaff.
Yeah, at Temple Mall, Culdaff, between 11 p.m. on Wednesday past and 8:15 a.m. when it was discovered on Thursday past the 30th. A car was parked at the front of a house and it was damaged overnight. 2 of the tyres were slashed and the back window was broken. We appeal to anybody who may have observed any suspicious activity at Temple Mall, Culdaff, between 11 p.m. on Wednesday and the following morning, Thursday the 30th, to contact my colleagues in Buncrana on 074 9320 540.
Yep, criminal damage too being investigated in Lifford.
Yeah, Clonlea Park, a very worrying one for the occupants of a house on Tuesday the 28th of March at approximately 11:30 p.m. The residents, I'm not sure if they were in bed or not, but it was 11:30 p.m. They heard a loud bang and they realised that a rock had been thrown through the upstairs bedroom window. When they went downstairs, they realised that another pane of glass had been smashed in the downstairs living room window, and 4 panes of glass were smashed in another downstairs bedroom window, and also the rear windscreen of their car had also been smashed. So a very deliberate action here, Greg. 3 people were seen leaving the estate at that time, and they were wearing dark clothes and they were wearing gloves and they had their heads covered. I'm not sure how, possibly with hoodies. These people were observed leaving the estate immediately after the incident. So if anybody knows who these people are, please contact my colleagues in Lifford, or again they can contact the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111. So that's in Clonlea in Lifford between 11 p.m. and midnight last Tuesday, March the 28th.
Yeah, and these people could have been running. They're going to be walking quickly. I mean, it's quite a specific time. These stories are concerned because it's incredibly stressful for the families you mentioned. But I mean, people might have a cot under a window or the couch under a window and massive shards of glass, not to mention the item being thrown in of itself. I mean, these people might think they're roughing up the house or something, but one of these days this is going to be a fatality or incredibly serious injury, and you just wonder, are they aware of their actions?
Yeah, Greg, good points. We've had it before. You've probably heard us on it before. There has been children playing and sleeping behind windows that have been broken, and unfortunately glass has gotten into their cot and their playpens. So you're right, it's just a matter of time if this kind of behaviour keeps going. People don't realise the risk they're undertaking. So I don't know what was going on there in Clonlea Park or what the issue is, but that doesn't matter. We would like to speak to anybody that can help us solve this one, so please contact my colleagues in Lifford.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, as I said before, you're not necessarily looking for people that saw it happening as such. That would be very useful, that would be helpful, but it's any information, any sightings, any dash cam footage in and around the area all the time that might help progress the investigation further.
Yeah, it's a very localised, very local area. It's a small community, so I'd be fingers crossed we'll get this one solved, Greg.
Yeah, okay, fingers crossed indeed. Criminal damage in Newtown Cunningham this time.
Yeah, quite a serious one, Greg. Monetary value in this one on the 1st of April between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. It's not an April Fool's now, unfortunately. Shortly before 8 p.m, Gardaí received a report that 2 truck cabs were on fire at that location. The fire service attended the scene and were able to put the fires out, but unfortunately the 2 lorry cabs were completely destroyed as a result of the fire. It is believed at this stage that it was started deliberately. So we ask anybody who travelled in that area at Main Street, Newton Cunningham on Saturday the 1st of April between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m, please contact my colleagues in Letterkenny 074 9167 100, or indeed the Garda Confidential line, again 1800 666 111. Just leave a message.
All right, another one of big monetary value, this time affecting the farming community, or the last one might have as well. It's the theft of livestock.
Yeah, I suppose theft of livestock, it's normally sheep we're talking about. In this case, though, it's Charlie heifers from land at Cashalenan, Kilmacrennan, which is through Termon on the way to Creeshla, as you're heading towards Lost Salt. It's a very rural area. But yeah, a lot of money involved for this injured party. So this happened on March the 31st between 4 p.m. and Saturday, April the 1st at midday, when it was discovered. So I have a description of the heifers. 2 were white full-bred weanling heifers and 2 cross-bred weanling Charolais heifers. So, their weanlings means, I suppose, that they're only young. They're under a year old, so they're quite small. Even though the Charolais would be a big breed, but these are quite small. So two white full-bred and 2 cross-bred weanling Charolais heifers. One of which is snow white and the other is brown. So Gardaí are interested in hearing from anybody with any information. That's the guards in Milford looking after that. 074 91 53060.
All right, your colleagues in Buncrana are investigating the theft of a pub sign.
Yeah, this is from a closed licensed premises in Buncrana. It's a large Smithwick's pub sign, Greg. It's one of these round kind of. They look like I suppose it's maybe 2 foot in diameter. It's it looks like a kind of pocket watch kind of sign that hangs off a bracket off the wall. The signs that are the round Smithwick's ones. They're a green background. It's quite an old sign. Just because the licensed premise is closed doesn't mean that nobody is at a loss to this. Yeah. Somebody owns it. So if anybody knows or has been offered this sign for sale or knows where it is, it belongs to somebody and would like it back, and it can be left back to the any Garda station, and if anybody knows any information who took it, please contact the Gardaí in Buncrana. 074 9320 540.
All right, okay. I mean, the Gardaí are there to keep an eye on things, but we have to be the ears and eyes as well of our own community, and community alerts are an important element of that. So talk to me a little bit about
community alert. It's a community safety program primarily for rural areas with an emphasis on vulnerable and more aged population. It assists with lots of things, including visits to elderly persons and security screens to make sure that they have lights, etc., and basic security precautions. It operates in partnership between the community and Garda Síochána and Muintir na Tíre, which is a community and voluntary charity organisation. It works on the principle of shared responsibility for crime prevention and reduction. We have several community alert programmes locally, and we hope to foster the process of community development and reduce opportunities for crimes to occur. And I know there's a specific emphasis on the Buncrana district at the moment. The district officers there, Superintendent Barry Doyle, is quite interested in setting up community alert programmes in Buncrana. So if anybody has any interest in it, they can research it on any of the websites, muintir.ie, which is Muintir na Tíre, so it's muintir.ie, or indeed garda.ie. If you the community, it also operates the text alert scheme, which is basically a number that you can contact the guards on directly, and you can also receive alerts, sort of group alerts, for maybe if somebody has a verified suspicious vehicle in there or whatever. Again, sort of very rural thing.
Are community alerts and text alert scheme as active and popular as they once were?
No.
I just don't hear about it as much. Now, that could be because they're working really well and no one has any complaints, but I see the signs, but I don't hear the conversations about texts and all that kind of stuff.
Grania looks after it in Letterkenny here, and I spoke to Grania this morning and I was asking her at that point, and she was saying it is in decline, and she attributes it, suppose, to she gets a lot of contact on Facebook from people, so it's kind of maybe substituted a bit, but still people do use a community alert, and it is a good one, Greg, particularly for suspicious, very localised. Say if somebody sees a vehicle pulling into somebody's yard and drives off, that might be circulated then to that particular community rather than sort of being broadcasted out to whole Donegal or whatever.
I think what happens with an awful lot of those, it's a very small core group of people that sort of keep them going and operating, and maybe if they then have other things to do, it can fall by the wayside. But as you say quite rightly, I think it's a really important.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a text-based scheme. So how many times are we using text now? It's kind of fallen. Not a lot of people use text now, but maybe for the elderly people that aren't using smartphones, they still have kind of the old sort of push button phones.
I guess right. Okay, it's just something I think we don't want to. If there's a vacuum or we lose something else often can come in its place. Right. Okay, you're looking for colleagues. The latest Garda recruitment competition. Open on the 24th of March.
Yeah, I suppose the guards are pushing this one hard. The candidates can apply at publicjobs.ie. That's the procedure you have to go through. You have to apply through that website, not through the Garda website, and it's have to be completed by 3 p.m. on the 14th of April, so that's in 10 days' time. Gardaí Grania and her colleagues from the Community Policing Unit in Letterkenny will be holding an information stand at Letterkenny Shopping Centre tomorrow, Wednesday, April the 5th, between 12 and 2. So between 12 and 2 in the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, and with a specific emphasis on recruitment and giving any advice to anybody that wants to come in and have a chat with my colleagues there. Please feel free to do so, or indeed you're very welcome to, and I would recommend it myself, that you call into any Garda station and you can speak directly to the people at the front. Further to that, Greg, just before I go, I just want to mention the upcoming bank holiday weekend, and the sort of road safety message they want to get across. Bank holidays in Donegal are never good when it comes to road accidents, Greg. Unfortunately, they bring a much higher volume of traffic because of our sort of nature of our tourist area, and
as well as that too, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Flo, too, at this time of year we're starting to see there's agricultural vehicles out, there's more young animals out, maybe they could escape, what have you, bikes, caravans, motorhomes, even boats. We're seeing a different type of traffic heading into the sort of April public holiday weekend, I think, than we might, sort of ones maybe in the depths of winter, and that all creates additional challenges. Yeah.
Like I say, Greg, it's traditionally been a bad time for us in Donegal. We've had many fatalities specifically on bank holiday weekend. So please, I would love it to. If we didn't have to knock on somebody's door this coming week to bring bad news. So just, time's precious for everyone, so please use the roads responsibly. Our key messages are: slow down, wear your seatbelt, and never ever drink or drug drive. And mobile phones can wait until you get to your destination, or pull over if you need to look at a message or take a phone call. And if you've been drinking, never safety drive. And be careful the morning after. Don't risk it. As always, we have a road safety plan in place, and the Roads Policing Unit will be conducting high visibility speed and drink driving and drug driving checkpoints over the weekend. But I suppose I just want to wish everybody have a safe and enjoyable Easter.
Yeah, you too. Indeed. Although I think a lot of holiday time has been cancelled amongst you and your colleagues, has it? For next week, yeah. We don't know what's happening yet, Greg, but we've just been told. Just been told turn up on Monday. Right, okay. Listen, thanks as always for turning up on a Tuesday. We appreciate it. That's Garda Niall Maguire of the Milford Garda District. That was the Community Garda information, and it's back with you next Tuesday, just after the 10 o'clock news. We'll be back with more after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Electric Ireland Superhomes can help you achieve a cosier, healthier, and more energy efficient home, and one with less carbon emissions. They look after your home's retrofit from start to finish, including management of SEAI grants. Visit electricirelandsuperhomes.ie and start your journey to a superhome today. Grants offered are provided by the Government of Ireland through the SEAI.
Attention all women in business leadership roles. Are you looking for an upskilling program that will give you the tools and strategies you need to succeed? Rural Enterprise SkillNet presents Leading From Within, an online professional development program combining one-to-one coaching sessions and online workshops. Starting 18th of April, register today at ruralenterpriseskillnet.ie and empower yourself to create change. Rural Enterprise SkillNet is co-funded by SkillNet Ireland and network companies. SkillNet Ireland is funded from the National Training Fund through the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science.
Easter sale now on Evolve Clothing Superstore. 2 floors of men's essential styles and fashion in casual wear, streetwear, formal wear and suiting. Plus over 200 styles of footwear. Easter sale now on Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park.
When planning a break this year, why not consider the huge selection of quality tours on offer from Boyce Travel Ramelton? Choose from Kilkenny or Killarney, the Ploughing Championships, or an overnight trip to Bloom. Call Boyce Tours on 9151043.
Mr. Blue Sky. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €40 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Plenty to come on the show. Don't forget, Paul McLaughlin of Ballactor Garden Centre is going to be in with us answering your gardening questions, which are coming in quite quickly, which is good to hear. Right, okay, we're joined on the programme now by Sheena Mitchell, who's a pharmacist. Hi, Sheena.
Hello, how are you doing?
Great to have you on the programme. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this is a good conversation to have in public because I think a lot of people, when they take their newborn home, are kind of a little bit uncomfortable with people coming up and touching it and kissing it, or pass the parcel kind of stuff, and fingers playing with lips and that kind of. And people don't really have the defence to sort of put up a defence and know how to broach that. But anyway, before we get to all that, what is your advice to new parents and kissing and contact with the baby? From others, obviously, we're talking about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a really, really difficult situation to navigate. And parents are very vulnerable when they first bring a baby home. You know, they're tired, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed.
And that's just dad. And that's just dad.
Oh, don't start me on that debate.
I'm joking. Go ahead, Sheena. Continue. I jest.
No. But yeah, everyone in the household, siblings and everyone is kind of out of place. There's a new human in your household that you have to try and adjust to. So it's a mad time at best, you know. So the way I have started this conversation is just by looking at the facts, because I think it's really important that parents are informed, and then hopefully if they're armed with the actual medical information, they can then make decisions and feel a bit more confident in them. And then we can kind of talk about how we have those conversations. So in terms of kind of medical risk to a newborn, and when I'm talking about a newborn, I'm talking about a baby who's kind of 2 to 3 months of age. So anything under the 3-month mark, it's really important to remember that a baby at that age is still developing their immune system. So they don't actually have the physical capabilities to defend themselves as an older child would. So the argument of, oh, we can't wrap them up in bubble wrap, we need to kind of let them be exposed to a little bit of illness, it doesn't stand up for a child under 3 months of age, because they're not able to. So all you're doing is endangering them. So
do we need, before we go into that, do we then need as a society start to view then the first 3 months of life as the fourth trimester as such? If you know what I mean, in terms of the child's development, I know that's kind of a contradiction in terms, but in terms of the child's development, that it is still attached to mum and growing as part of almost the pregnancy, albeit outside her.
I completely agree with that. The fourth trimester is a huge thing, and especially for mum as well. You know, you've carried this baby for 9 months. You've a lot of physical change going on in your body. And it's not a case that you're pregnant one day and happy to go out with your baby and have life kind of sorted the next. So it's a real period of adjustment, and everyone needs a little bit of time. And even for mum, obviously the hormones are changing, but it's the same thing for the baby. Like, they're having serious, that's why you'll often see things like a baby will have a fine head of hair when they're born, and then suddenly it'll all fall out. And that's all due to changing hormone levels. So it really is a fourth trimester. And even for things like establishing breastfeeding and bonding, and a lot of mums will have kind of baby blues if you know, in the early weeks after giving birth. So it is a time that we should definitely protect mums. Okay. But also you can understand, and look, I had 3 kids under 3.5 myself, and on tiring days, there was nothing that I enjoyed more than having visitors and showing off my baby, because every mum gives birth to the best baby that has ever been born, you know? So there's an element of you want to share and you want to be excited, but at the same time, you kind of, you know, your innate need to protect the child.
Yeah, and I think it's about really the physical contact, or being over droplets the baby for a prolonged amount of time, stuff like that. And we'll get to that. But also, I suppose you want to strike a balance here, especially for the people you described who are a bit nervous, it's all new and what have you. We're not talking here about locking your front door for 3 months and not leaving either, and not letting the baby out and the baby's vulnerable and all that type of stuff. Because obviously, you know, people are so afraid now because the media's conditioned them to be afraid for starters. This is about a balance here, isn't it, Sheena? And I want you to describe that balance. So you're not talking about, put your life on hold for a further 3 months here. This is about, I think, bringing things that can harm them maybe to the baby.
Yeah, like it's really, really important to, let a mother and baby or father and baby develop at their own pace and kind of re-interact with the world at their own pace. Visitors are really important. But, as I always say to people, rather than asking to come over and kiss and, cuddle the baby when it's a week and a half old, maybe you could make a cup of tea. Like, there's ways you can be helpful when you're visiting a household that have a new baby, and you can show your support and chat and listen to the stories about how the baby isn't sleeping or the baby's a bit windy. People absolutely are really, really important at that time. You need the support. And especially from other mums, a lot of times people will have little bits of advice to kind of offer. And, we used to say a village raises a child. And unfortunately, that mentality is kind of gone because people are isolated, living in areas where they maybe didn't grow up, so they don't know people around them, and more families have working, two parents working, so it makes it more difficult. There's less people home.
And we're obviously going to go on to talk about some of the serious things, and in most cases, with medical intervention, everything's going to be okay and all. But I think anyone will know, even a snotty nose in a very young baby, how distressing that is. Now they have the ability to, even if they're taking a bottle or if they're on the breast, do you know what I'm on about? It gets you inside. You know what I mean? And that would just be a snotty nose. So we want to avoid particularly the more serious stuff as much as possible. And as we go into that too, I think maybe in our heads people might think it's grannies and granddads, but sometimes it's the little 2 or 3 or 4 year olds where you say be gentle, and they're playing with their little petri dishes walking around the place as well. So it's not, I don't think it's necessarily age specific. So what would we be hoping then to prevent this this precious little newborn from catching, Sheena?
Okay, so there is a few things here. So first of all, one of the simplest one that any age person can bring into the household is a cold sore. And that could even be the mum themselves. And the cold sore is caused by the herpes simplex virus. And while it's normally very straightforward in an adult or older child, it can actually cause severe, severe illness, including death in children under under 4 weeks. They're most at risk of it. So, for any visitor coming to the house, it's absolutely essential that they're not kissing the baby. And also actually that they're doing an awful lot of hand hygiene, because it's very easy to touch your lips subconsciously and then touch a surface that someone else could come along then and touch and spread, infection to the baby. With neonatal herpes, which is what happens when it manifests in a young baby, it can actually affect all of their organs. And, many babies will end up in hospital for many weeks on IV antivirals as a result of this. But, some do die from that condition. So this is where it's like, well, we're actually dealing with fact here. This really is a high risk, situation. There's other viruses, and you talked about the kids there. And certainly any child who is in creche or school or preschool, anything, or mixing at all, are very possibly carrying diseases, viral illnesses like RSV in hand, foot and mouth. RSV, we're coming to the tail end of the season, but there are still cases reported every week. And that can cause extreme breathing difficulties in babies. And it can be really, really, really damaging. It's the leading cause of hospitalization in children under 4. So they're the illnesses really that we're talking about. But as you said there, with blocked noses, you have to remember, if a baby is trying to feed, whether it be on breast or bottle, they can't breathe and feed. And a baby needs to spend an awful lot of time latched on. So, it's damaging them, and there's a risk of dehydration.
A small baby not getting liquids for a very small amount of time can be really quite problematic. If you've got a toddler or something and you get one mug or bottle into them, you know that gives you a bit of space. But with a newborn baby, if it's not getting in liquids for a reasonably short amount of time, it can be problematic. So even something as, on the face of it, simple as a blocked nose can be problematic, can't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, this is precautionary. We don't want to, if there's new mums or dads listening, we don't want to scare the living daylights out of them. But knowledge is power, okay? This is about best ensuring it doesn't happen, albeit rare. But you can almost, very, 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 very much reduce the risk if you take some of this advice. But how do you implement this, okay? Because we're afraid to offend people. We're afraid to upset people. We might have one sister that will go, I know exactly what you're on about. And then one brother that will go, oh, and push back because they'd be thinking about themselves and not you. Do you know what I mean? And that could be a man, woman, it doesn't matter. So how do you have the conversation? Do you just have to bite the bullet and get it out there?
Yeah, it's a delicate one, all right. And you may well ruffle feathers, but there's definitely some approaches that you can do. So first of all, if you're talking about in-laws, I always say that's your partner's job. That's not your job. Let them deal with that.
Well, that's a row before we've even got round to That's a row before we've even got around to talking about it, Sheena.
Exactly. Just to highlight, share the responsibilities. Yes. And the other thing is a little heads up before visitors come. So generally when your baby's, a newborn, it's people coming to you in a lot of cases. So maybe just a little kind of WhatsApp or text message beforehand to say, by the way, the baby's still really, really little. So we don't want you kissing the baby if that's okay. If it's grandparents, absolutely, you might want to let them hold the baby because, some grandparents are elderly and this is a really, really big deal for them having a grandchild, and no one is taking the joy away from that from any grandparent. So just maybe ask them to use the hand sanitizer before they hold the baby. Tell them not to come over if they're not feeling well, and do insist on the no kissing rule. So, it's not forever. It's only for kind of the 2 to 3 month period. If anyone's coming over that has kids, like say you're talking about your sister or brother and they're bringing their children, remind them not to bring them if they have any sniffles or if they're not feeling well. And then remind them to talk to their children before they come over so that conversation is had in their home, not in yours. So say, that we're going to see the baby, but realistically, today we're not going to be able to cuddle and hold the baby. We can have a little look at the baby from a distance. And then when they come over with your children, you can have a lovely conversation with those kids then about how important they're going to be in the baby's life when the baby's older and how they're going to be able to teach the baby how to play and, show them the value in it that way. Once children get a little bit of attention in that scenario, sure, they'll lose interest very quickly and go off playing with something else.
And read the room too. Don't overstay your welcome if you are the visitor either, because it's it could be due a nappy change or it could be due a feed, and everyone has different comfort levels in relation to that, right? Okay. So take the lead from the parents and if you go to leave and they say, oh, please, I'd love you to stay for a bit, then you'll know, but they might be glad that you're heading off now. That sounds terrible, but do you know what I mean?
Totally. And people might, you might have a woman maybe on her own at home who's nervous about going out for a walk, but they'd love to do it with company and, let it go at their pace. Maybe you could join them for a slow, stroll around the neighborhood or whatever. I think you're right, though. I think, look, I always say, just make sure to go in and make the cup of tea. Maybe bring some food with you. People always say, what do I bring to a household that have a new baby? I'm like, lasagna or something else that can be shoved in the freezer. Food is the best gift. It always is. And as you said, respect the boundaries and just make it easier for parents to have their own, I suppose, wishes and concerns safeguarded.
But then there are some that will want a trusted one or two people, maybe a sister that's very close, or a mum, right, or dad. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make a judgment call as well on the balance of everything, don't you? So if you have someone who gets it, right, you're not saying hold the baby tight and don't let anyone near it, but this sort of the general population coming in, touching, breathing all over, particularly kissing with the herpes is a particular concern of mine. But you use your own instinct. It's like when you're trying to raise a baby, you do have to use your own instinct too, and nothing matches that often. And that's particularly for if you bring your child to a doctor's. If your instinct's telling you something other than what's happening there, go with your instinct. That's what I would suggest. I'm not saying you'd say that either, Sheena, but I think, particularly the maternal instinct, it's really important to listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the one thing, because it's really about what the parents are comfortable with. So there's no right way of parenting. There's different people's, views as a parent of what they're at home with. And if someone is pushed out of their comfort zone, it's stressful. And that's the last thing we need to do to a new parent, to stress them out. So ultimately, if you have, say, a very close friend or someone who's very important in your life and you do want them to be able to hold the baby, that's not a problem. Just ask them to do their hand gel, ask them to make sure that they're feeling well before they come over. And, do insist that the no kissing rule. But, sometimes...
Are you all right? Just one thing, because you mentioned the hand gel a couple of times, and I'm a worrier, right? Okay. I would be a wee bit concerned with someone just rubbing hand gel on their hands and even just holding the baby's hand. Just with their skin versus the toxicity of the lotion, and I don't know its background. That's just me. I don't know if you subscribe to that. I'd just be a wee bit worried about that personally.
Yeah, contact dermatitis can be very difficult. Obviously you can, washing hands is the easiest scenario, but sometimes you're not going to get someone to do that, and it's easier to...
Okay, I get you.
You can just let it dry in, yeah.
All right, so this worth speaking about this because you had... maybe people could forward your podcast. It's only a short 10-minute podcast to the family. Just say, hey, listen to this, see what you think, right? But where can people listen to it, Sheena?
Yeah, so this is exactly, blame me.
That's it. So Sheena said this. It's not me, she said it. She's an influencer.
She's
she influenced me.
Professional. What can you do? Yeah, so you can find my podcast. It's called A Wonder Care Podcast, and it's on all of the main streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Or if you don't kind of really get the whole podcast movement, you can just go onto my website, wondercare.ie, and there's a tab up there for podcasts. It's all there.
And very funny, in this day and age, there's always a pushback against stuff. You know what I mean? That people will think that you're wrong, your approach is wrong, the world's gone mad back in my day, so on and so forth. But if you had to sort of review the feedback you've had from this, people, I mean, you can't argue with science, but what are people saying?
So very few people have pushed back, but there has been kind of people who've said, well, what would you say to the older generation who think you're bonkers? And I am a very level-headed, non-sensationalist person. So anyone who knows me knows that this is not... something that I'm dramatizing. The reality of the situation is, years ago, babies died of measles. Years ago, babies had a high mortality rate. So we're learning how to protect our babies. And if you're telling me that a mother 80 years ago who lost her baby due to an infectious disease wouldn't have welcomed this medical information, then, I wouldn't believe you.
Yeah.
We're here and we've
progressed now. And there are other parts of the world that aren't as progressed as us. And there's a much higher mortality rate in children. So it's a living reality for some in the world right now. And I think that really emphasises your point strongly. Sheena, great to have you on the programme. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That is Sheena Mitchell, who's a pharmacist. This caller says, Greg, it's amazing how newborn baby advice has changed. When mine were born, I was told that baby had natural immunity from mother for 6 weeks, but alas, with my fourth, I found out that's not to be so. And I hope... if you suffered a loss in that regard, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. It's not quite clear from your text message, but that's the sense I'm getting. And as I say, if that is the case, I'm incredibly sorry for what you had went through. Look, there is no doubt that we know the advantages of, say, for instance, if someone can, and it's down to each individual, breastfeed, that the additional protection it can offer. The baby is born with some immunity that's given to its mother from its mother, just to set it out on its pathway, but clearly it's not exposed to new things that are going around or different things that are going around that the mother maybe didn't have contact with during her pregnancy, or even if she did. We're talking about particularly cold sores and different types of things that can come into a house. We're not asking much in that interview. I'm not asking anything. It's up to you what you do, but what we're talking about is just for the first 2 to 3 months until yourself when a baby goes from that newborn stage to there's a little bit to it. Do you know what I mean? In terms of its strength and resilience. And you can see that. And as I said, instinct, trust your instincts.
Hurry, the last few days to enter our mega holiday giveaway. Buy a ticket for the Highland Radio Holiday Mega Draw today and you could be the lucky winner who will walk away with €10,000 to spend on a holiday of a lifetime and €5,000 in cash. Simply go to highlandradio.com and click on Win a Holiday. Winner will be announced on Thursday on the 9 to noon show.
Transform your garage with an electric roller garage door from Garola. It's time to modernise with a fully fitted roller door from just €997. With 21 colours to choose from, we'll even take your old garage door away. Book your free survey today. Call 1800 827 515 or visit garola.ie.
The annual Easter commemoration will take place on Easter Sunday, 9th of April. Piers Doherty will be the main speaker, and all are welcome to attend. Please assemble at Johnston's Corner, Stranraer at 3 p.m.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board Mona.
All footwear is reduced to clear in the big closing down sale at McGarrigle Shoes, Letterkenny. All men's shoes and boots must go. Also, all ladies' footwear at knockdown prices. In the closing down sale, now on at McGarrigle Shoes, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, let's have a look at the weather forecast. I don't have. Do you have a weather forecast with you, Michaela? No, you don't?
No.
No weather forecast.
I can remember its highest temperatures of 11 to 12 degrees.
You don't care? You're going on holidays?
It will be dry.
Some rain and drizzle early this morning, which is cleared now, becoming mainly dry this afternoon. Rain will develop in the west and spread to all areas. Highest temperatures of 11 or 12 degrees, as you heard from Michaela there, with moderate to fresh southerly breezes.
Join us this Wednesday on Around the Northwest with John.
Whoops. It is 11 o'clock. It's time for a news update. And it's good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí are seeking to identify 3 people dressed in dark clothing seen fleeing a housing estate in Lifford after a number of windows of a house were smashed. On Tuesday night last, the residents of the property in Clonley Park heard a loud bang and subsequently discovered a rock had been thrown through an upstairs bedroom window. It further emerged that a pane of glass had been smashed in the downstairs living room window. 4 panes of glass were smashed in a downstairs bedroom window, and the rear windscreen of the car had also been smashed. Meanwhile, Gardaí believe a weekend fire which destroyed 2 truck cabs in Newton Cunningham was started deliberately. The 2 cabs were destroyed in the blaze, which is reported to have been started between 6 and 8 p.m. on Saturday in a yard in the Main Street area. Minister Charlie McConlogue says a number of major school projects in Inishowen remain on schedule and he is confident they will not be delayed. He was speaking after Education Minister Norma Foley said the Gaelscoil na Gar Maestri in Donegal Town is the only Donegal project which has been stalled as a result of a review of costs by the Department of Public Expenditure. The Taoiseach admits the rental market is in a terrible state due to an exodus of small landlords, but Leo Varadkar says the government wasn't aware of the exact number of termination notices issued prior to its decision to end the evictions ban. Retired health workers in Donegal are in Manor Hamilton today to highlight the fact that pension rises to which they have been entitled to since last year have not yet been implemented. Kieran Sheridan of SIP2 says the last pay deal reached in the sector saw pay increased in 3 increments since February the 2nd last year, and that should also be reflected in the pensions paid to the retired workers in the same sector. Investigations are continuing after a man was assaulted in Letterkenny last week. At around 11:40 p.m. in the Lower Main Street area of the town, a man is believed to have been attacked outside a licensed premises by another man. He was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment to his injuries. And Gardaí are appealing for information after a car was damaged overnight in Kildare on Wednesday last. Sometime between 11 p.m. and 8:15 a.m. in the Templemoyle area, 2 tyres were slashed and a window in the vehicle broken. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update at 12.
Thank you, Michaela. Right, just to let
Choose
you know.
technology. Choose versatility. Choose experience. Karcher pressure washers. Now available at your local hardware and electrical retailer. Choose Karcher.
Do you ever have one of those days? Today is one of those where I'm speaking at the wrong time and pushing the wrong buttons. But anyway, it'll all be okay tomorrow. We'll get through this hour and we'll be grand. What I was actually going to say to you before I interrupted our friends at Karcher there is that we have 6 last-minute places on the Highland Radio Glasgow trip from the 1st to the 4th of May. It's a twin or double room, €575 per person sharing. So if that fits the bill for you, a wee holiday at the start of May, 6 last-minute places with twin or double room have become available on the Highland Radio Glasgow trip from the 1st to the 4th of May, $575 per person sharing. Okay. Let us see now. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre in Letterkenny is on the way. I think we have other people in as well. There's a bottle of wine's turned up here with Paul's head on it, so I don't know what's going on there. May contain alcohol. We'll get someone in to have a sup of that and get the story behind that. I think he's brewing it himself. Do you brew wine? I don't know. You brew beer. I don't know what you do with wine. Ferment it? I haven't a clue. Paul will tell me, though. Read the HSE advising upcoming retirees that there will be a 3-month delay before pension payments commence is illegal. It's an ombudsman's issue, says that caller. Another, I don't work, and I think Good Friday should be a public holiday, and if anyone has to work it, then they should have the choice to attend the 3 p.m. Mass if they wish to do so. Another is the workers that work Good Friday entitled to the public holiday. Well, you see, it's not a public holiday, so there's no actual entitlement to it. Now, there's an old phrase to do with employment, like traditions and practice or something, I can't remember what it is, whereby people traditionally got Good Friday off, and if that's established as part of their working year, then that continues. But new employees or employers that have redrawn the boundaries, so to speak, then there's not an entitlement to it because it's not actually a public holiday. Now, hundreds of young people from all over Ireland are getting an opportunity to voice their opinions on issues that are important to them. It's part of the biannual National Showcase event at Croke Park. Kierlan Og, I believe it is. They're youth councils that allow young people to have the opportunity to engage with decision makers and influence key policies at a local and national level. We're joined on the programme now by Ciara Gilmore, representative of the Donegal Youth Council in Clonmany. Good morning to you, Ciara.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Right, okay, so why are you heading to Croke Park?
We're in Croke Park today to show off everything that we've completed over the last 2 years as a youth council.
And what are the big issues are you getting a sense of for young people down at the event?
Definitely mental health as a topic that most corlas are working on. So in other words, that's the feedback from right around the country. Yeah, definitely.
And are you getting the sense that that's generally speaking, or it's a worsening problem coming through and past COVID?
It's probably a worsening problem coming through.
Some of the other issues, social media and body image, that's been around for quite a bit. Not getting any better, I don't think, judging by what you see on social media nowadays. What's the impact of that on young people?
Young people are using social media all the time, every day, and it's having a major impact on them. And as a Corla ourselves, we created a video to try and promote that not everything online is real and to focus on real life instead. I think, to some extent that argument's getting easier with the more sophisticated filters are becoming, in that, that the elephant's sort of the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. You know what I mean? I think that's almost helping this whole argument that people presume that there's filters being used and filters are so fantastic. Do you get where I'm coming from in that regard? Yeah, people are definitely starting to realise that so-called social media influencers aren't perfect and that they are using a lot of Facetune and filters on their social media posts.
Where does the climate and the environment sit in the consciousness of young people at the moment?
Young people are starting to realise that it's definitely a big issue, and especially in rural Ireland, like with our lack of public transport and all the rest. And as a Corla, we also try to work on that.
And we also have this situation whereby a environmentally minded young person in Donegal would not have the same options as an environmentally minded person in Dublin, for example. Do you know what I mean? If you decided, Ciara, that living in Donegal was for you, but you didn't want to have a vehicle, for an example, you know, you couldn't probably make that decision here in Donegal, but someone, as I say, of a similar mindset as you in Dublin would have numerous options. So there's an equality there.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a real lack of public transport in Donegal.
All right, bullying obviously is also an issue. I presume that's kind of also potentially tied into the whole social media body image space as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, talk to me about the campaign, Back to Mental Health. Talk to me about the campaign you were involved in.
So as a Corla, we took part in the organisation of the Mind Your Melon Mental Health Festival online, and we basically sat on the team and helped come up with ideas and helped promote the campaign as well.
All right, brilliant stuff. So when did the Call and Oak actually start? You're down there now. Is it ongoing today? Is it a 1 or 2 day event, or what's the story?
It started at 10 o'clock this morning, and we're here all day.
All right. And what about getting to the ears of those that make decisions? Are there government reps, HSE reps, those type of people there that you can speak to?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of ministers coming today anyways, and the Taoiseach as well, I think, is making an appearance.
All right, okay. That's good stuff. Ciara, enjoy the day. Well done to you and the rest of the Donegal Youth Council. She's from Clonmany. And it's a big event. It's once every 2 years. Would you know if Muff Village Road is still closed to traffic at night, asks a listener. And, you know, we endeavour to get answers to your questions. Let me see if I can make sense of this. Right, the temporary closing of roads, Muff Village, nighttime closure runs from the 27th of March to the 31st of March. That is past. And from the 3rd to the 4th of March, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily. So the regional road through Muff Village from the Texaco filling station to the Circle K filling station will not now be closed on Saturday night, the 1st of April, and Sunday night, the 2nd of April, but it will be on the 3rd and 4th. I'm not sure you've helped there, Caroline, because I'm more confused than when we started. Let me review that and get back to you. Can we do that? Is that all right? There's definitely an issue with the bills from Electric Ireland at the moment. I got an overdue bill for €106 and I knew I didn't owe anything. When I called them up, I was right. I didn't owe anything and my next bill wasn't due until May. They just said they were having a billing issue. But are you on direct debit there? Because could they have potentially taken that money out of your account, or was it just a bill that was wrong? I'd be worried about that. I've had no electric bill since November. I've rang them 3 times, still no bill. Another, Greg, I got a reminder from Electric Ireland for a bill I didn't get yet. Okay, that's very confusing. Hi, Greg, I can identify with your texter, Electric Ireland. I should have had a bill in mid-February and it hasn't arrived yet. Don't know what's the matter. That's coming in from Mary. So, listen, lots of you with the same problem. There's definitely an issue there. I'm particularly concerned, though, if they're billing incorrectly, especially if that direct debit could come out before you flagged it because you haven't had the bill. I'd be worried. Just keep an eye on that. Does anyone know why the treatment plant in Mahernennen is making so much noise again all night last night? Anyone out there with an insight? Another, I work in a shop and we used to close for Good Friday service, but in later years, the shop stayed open. The thing was, we didn't have a customer come into the shop. Yeah, but things have changed now, haven't they? Former President Carter is on his deathbed. If he dies, President Biden will not be coming to Ireland, my Washington contacts say. Okay, well, that is could be an issue. I don't know if he's actually on his... I mean, listen, I think he's in end-of-life care, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily at end of life. We shall see. You've got contacts, I don't. Re-eviction painting. Strange how Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael only got annoyed until an opposition TD retweeted the image. Very poor effort of deflection regarding the ever-increasing housing crisis. Perhaps this Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael government think that shouting all sorts at the opposition will sort out the homelessness and evictions. Well, it's a two-way street, the shouting back and forwards. I get you. I think that painting story has gone to bed. I think from going forward, you would hope all politicians, whether in government or not, will just think twice and think of the consequences. And sometimes words are needed just for context. But anyway, plenty of miles made out of it in political commentary and on the TV and radio, I suppose. Okay, it is almost time for us to take off our shoes, pull on our wellies, maybe even throw a waterproof cape on and head out into the garden, because Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre in Letterkenny's on his way in.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. With over 50 years of experience, we pride ourselves in providing a top-class customer experience. Keen fuel prices, convenience shop, hot deli, hardware.
And Frosty's famous special recipe ice cream.
Family-run, helpful staff and service with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Visit the Inishowen Co-op Home Build event at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Saturday, April 15th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Meet the suppliers for expert advice on all your home build needs. Micah support available on the day. See Facebook for more details.
Could it get any better as a senior citizen? No sitting in traffic trying to get to work. Heading off on midweek breaks. Out for a bite to eat whenever it suits. And now that bite to eat costs even less at Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny, with 15% off after 3 every weekday when you spend €15. Meet up for a chat and a bite to eat Monday to Friday with an extra 15% off the menu for all senior citizens at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Don't miss Jimmy Buckley at the Highlands Hotel Glenties on Good Friday, 7th of April. Doors open at 8 p.m. with early dancing to Conor O'Donnell. That's dancing to Jimmy Buckley at the Highlands Hotel Glenties on Good Friday, the 7th of April.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Time, 11:15. We're in studio now with Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre in Letterkenny. How was your winter?
Not so bad now. Everyone good. Everyone went swimmingly.
Yeah,
we're not too bad.
Plenty of stuff coming through for spring in the...
Absolutely. It's just 2 weeks ago, it's like somebody switched on a light. Everything just burst into life and we're flat out again.
A lot of people are getting the lawns mowed, the grass cut too soon.
To be honest, I haven't mowed mine yet. Now it's grand if there's not frost due in the next few days. After the frost imminent, I would be leaving it. Yeah, so because all you can do is just turn it white.
What exactly? That answers the question. And I think what people try and do, they try and get the big hit, don't they? So it looks gorgeous, right?
Yes.
Cut it really tight. Frost comes in, bish, bash, bosh.
Pretty much, it's at a time when the grass is sort of weak, like it hasn't had the power of the sun over the winter months, basically. And by cutting it, you're sort of putting it in the shock a wee bit, and then it leaves it more susceptible.
Can you move forward a wee bit just closer to that microphone?
It leaves it more susceptible to the frost.
But you're not scolding anyone that has.
Absolutely not, no.
If you're on the fence, just leave it a bit.
I would tend to leave it.
Next week, I think this will be the last week of frost.
Yeah, and there plenty of time to be spent cutting grass too, so...
Yeah, forget Carlow Weather and Donegal Weather Channel. This is Lahey Weather is telling you.
Yes, that's it.
Next week, there's no frost. Okay. Right, okay, so what could we be doing or should we be doing now?
Pretty much now, March, April is a perfect time for... There's a lot going on in the garden. The first thing I would do is generally just do a general tidy up first. So by doing a tidy up, you're sort of taking stock of what you have and then sort of seeing what direction you want to go in the future. But in terms of starting seeds, I think that pretty much now is perfect time for starting that.
Seeds for what?
Seeds, even fruit, vegetables, flowers, whatever.
Right, in the ground or pots?
Generally, at this time of year, depends on the varieties you're using. Peas, beans, onions, that sort of stuff can go straight into the ground.
How would we prepare the ground, though? Because let's say it's been sitting there for the winter.
Yeah, pretty much. If it's a new area, give it a dig over. Put the grass down basically, and then just cultivate it as best you can, and give yourself sort of what they call a fine tilth to make a nice seed bed.
So get a rake even and back.
Pretty
and
much give it a rake,
it.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you're doing a bigger job, you get a higher thing like a rotavator or something like that. If you're doing like an area for potatoes or something.
All right, okay, so you get that sorted. What do you put in there? Onions?
Pretty much, if you're only starting out with kids there, stuff like peas, beans, onions are all perfect and fairly foolproof. So there is
all the stuff they won't eat.
Pretty much,
Okay.
yeah.
So, Anything your kids won't eat, you can plant now.
That's a big thing as well. Keep an eye on, or sort of try and tailor to what you will eat. There are a lot of easy stuff like radishes and stuff that you can grow very easily, but in my experience, nobody really wants them as much.
I jest about the children and all, but you know what? If you involve them in that whole process and the cooking and preparation, even for fussy eaters, there's quite a school of thought that helps them sort of appreciate and understand it and bypass the taste buds to some extent.
Absolutely. I know I've seen it in practice in my own house, that the kids actually, if they're involved in the growing of the thing, they are much more engaged with it and they're much more likely to eat it.
Right, okay. So in terms of fertilising areas of your garden, so you're cleaning up, getting rid of dead leaves, whatever else might be there. And then, so where could you be putting fertiliser down now, or what should you be doing?
Now's prime time for, if you have existing beds, get some sort of like an organic product that you can put onto the ground and just give it a general fertilise. Now, as the growth's taken off, it'll really shove it on. So someone like just a handful per plant. But it's important to use the sort of more organic stuff than chemical fertilisers. You have a tendency to overdose, whereas the more organic ones are slow release, and that sort of takes the risk out of it.
Poultry manure is one of your favourites.
Pretty much.
Still, it hasn't gone out of vogue in 2023.
Absolutely not, no.
Mulch, a lot of people have that around the place. What is mulch and how do you create it, or where do you get it?
Mulch, you can generally use a lot of products from mulch, and such as the most popular one probably bark mulch, which is just the bark of trees. If you spread it out over the ground, it helps to suppress the weeds because it cuts out the light, and it actually, through the summer months, helps to retain moisture too. But a lot of people use their own sort of homemade compost that they've made from their food waste, and that hands perfectly grand to mulch the ground with too.
All right, okay. Now, in terms of, anything potted, certainly we're nowhere near window boxes or stuff like that, or maybe with certain varieties, but not a lot of people doing it. So what could people be doing who don't have a lawn or beds, but they, maybe have a little space at the back or a windowsill? Is there anything that you can be doing now this time of year that you couldn't up until now?
Yeah, there is plenty of sort of flowers you can be starting from seeds, from like nasturtium, something like that. They'll be ready for the summer period. You can buy ready-made stuff in garden centres, primroses, that sort of thing. Be just to brighten up the place now. Or what's very popular for pots at the moment is herbs. Actually, you can start your herbs now, and then you have them for your, especially in the windowsill, you have them for your cooking.
I mean, there's nothing better than if you are cooking to be able to pick something off your own pot and throw it into the pan. Like.
Absolutely, it's just all about the freshness. So it is just from the windowsill to the pan.
And it's not cheap either. Listen, the accessibility to certain herbs now, and they come in little pots, but the pots really aren't designed, I don't think, for their continued growth.
Yeah.
They're more of a delivery mechanism. But if you buy them on a regular basis, they're not inexpensive.
No, absolutely, it all mounts up. Yeah. And say, a perfect example would be rosemary there. We used to have a big one in the garden, and it was like 2.5 feet high, but that would be plenty to keep you going for years and years and years.
Yeah, and it'll keep going. Won't
it
replenish?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think that's a really sort of accessible thing people can do. Right, okay, so with the garden and all that kind of stuff done, there was another question I wanted to ask that in relation to it. I keep looking at your bottle of wine here. We're going to get to that in a moment. We'll get to some. I don't drink wine much, but we'll get to some. So we've covered that. Tidying, bit of fertiliser, some stuff can be planted. That's the majority of what we can be doing at the moment.
Pretty much. It's a good time as well. If your lawn needs attention, it's a good time.
What can we do to the lawn, for crying out loud?
Lawn, pretty much, if once again it's been a wet enough winter, so moss is a big problem.
Well, it was the wettest March in history.
Yes. So moss is a huge problem at the moment, as it always is at this time of year. So the best thing to do, like with your tidying, go out, give it a good rake over, sort of remove any leaves and debris lying over the winter time, and basically see where you are at. And then maybe it's a bit early to be starting treating moss or even fertilising yet, but at least you'd know where you stand with it, and sort of take it from there.
And what about trees that maybe have sprung up over a couple of years and are casting shadows that never sort of go away from your grass? I mean, that will help to sort of develop moss and all. Can you cut hedges and trees back at this time of year? I haven't a clue.
Legally, no. You're not actually. The period for that is past. You have from the 1st of September to the 1st of March.
That's it?
Yep, pretty much.
All right, don't touch anything, folks. You legally can't do it. I have Japanese knotweed growing around my house, and I know I cannot touch it or cut it, but it's spreading rapidly, and I'm worried that it's going to start damaging my street and maybe even my home. Is there anything that can be done at all, even to slow down its spread? Now, when they say they can't cut it or touch it, is that...
Yes.
You can't... I know you can't. I know that you see the signs, right, where the councils say this is dangerous stuff, don't cut it and replant it close. But presumably you can take any action that you see fit to
Pretty
tackle
much.
it around your house, can't you?
The only problem with cutting it is it can actually grow from 0.7 of a gram of a leaf.
Right.
So by cutting it and removing it to some other place where you dump the stuff
Understood.
is going to grow up
Okay.
as well, you see. So the first thing to do in a case like that there, first of all, is don't panic. That a while out of the stuff about Japanese knotweed weed has been blown out of proportion. So it's not as, like, it is very treatable. It's a long-term project to treat it, and it can be expensive to treat it, but it is very treatable, generally by using chemical means, or there are actually a few more coming onto the market now. There is a few more organic means of getting rid of it, and using it's basically the simplest way of describing it would be the equivalent of a welder.
But this idea that it's going to tear up your drive and destroy your foundations, you're saying that's maybe was a bit sensational?
That's very sensational. There are a few reasons that I could go into about why that sort of thing came about, but it became this big demon sort of thing.
Well, the media got a hold of it for starters.
Pretty much, and it became actually a big part of the reason was, this is my conspiracy theory now, but it became a thing in England back 2008, 2009. They refused to give you a mortgage if you had it in a property. But with the credit crash, they didn't want to give you the mortgage anyway.
I get you. So it was
became
an excuse.
not
I thought
to.
you were going to say that it was Japanese knotweed were actually little 5G transmitters, but
Absolutely, that too.
You didn't go down that road.
You have great Wi-Fi at the bottom of the garden.
You didn't quite go down that road with your conspiracy
but no,
theory.
it is.
Listen, we're not going to brush over the moss, but
Right.
your advice is sound on the knotweed. Have a look around, see what's available.
And I think contact the county council. They've had good success in dealing with it along road.
Yeah, because there was a few trials and stuff, wasn't there? Let's do the moss in a little bit more detail, because I know there's a lot of people listening, and that's the bugbear.
Yeah.
So we'll ask this question and we'll get to it from that. Can you please ask Paul the age-old question: how can I eradicate or treat moss? As it is, it looks very unsightly. I've used treatment for grass fertilizer and moss, but to no avail. It come back. Now ahead of its first cut, what shall I do? And you know what that looks like when you cut it down. You've got a little bit of carpet, a little bit of grass.
Yeah, absolutely. I know my own's no better, so it's not, to be honest. The best thing you could do probably at this time of year, first of all, give it a good rake over, remove any debris of that, and sort of reveal what you have. Some people go down the sulphate of iron or the chemical treatment routes. What you would do is put it on pretty much from the next 2 weeks or so. You can put it on and leave it 2 weeks. The whole lawn generally goes black, and then you can hire a machine called a scarifier, which rips out all the moss. Basically, what you're doing is with the sulphate of iron, that you're killing off the moss, and then it's breaking up the bond with the ground, and what the scarifier then pulls it out. You can actually, if you want to go chemical free, just use the scarifier on its own.
Yeah, that could leave patches though.
That will leave patches. It's very important to deal with them patches in terms
So
of.
how do you deal with the patches then?
Basically, by using the machine or even using a rake, you have tore up the ground
Enough. Okay.
Exactly.
So just seed on top.
Just pretty much put seed on top. If you really want to, you can actually mix that seed with some soil.
Yeah.
Because if you scatter seed just on top of the ground and it comes very dry for 2 weeks, the seed will probably burn.
Now, you're
up.
saying golf course and stuff, maybe sometimes they have a mixture of sand, soil and seed.
Yes, exactly.
Ideally. Which is not hard to get your hands on, like to do a proper job like
No,
this.
absolutely not. No.
You
So
mix
it's-
that in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, mix it up in the wheelbarrow, exactly, and scatter it on that way. Generally, at this time of year, the seed in its own is perfect because there's enough moisture going about.
I get you. Yeah,
So
it's not
there
going
is.
to blow off or stuff
exactly.
like that. All right, so there is hope. Now, is that something you have to do annually? If you're prone to moss, you're probably going to have to face up to looking at that job early April most years, are you?
Pretty much. There's sort of two schools of thought on it. Some people are looking forward to the golf green sort of lawn going on, which is nice to have as well. Other people just choose to live with the moss to an extent, and obviously try and treat it and reduce it as best you can. But it's just the climate we live in.
Yeah, all right. We'll get to more questions in a moment. What's this here I have in my hand?
That appears to everybody started growing their own food. I've taken it a step further, growing my own drink.
Windbush wine.
Yes, I tried that out this spring now. So
I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm sure it tastes delicious. But it looks like you just kept that bottle beside the bed, Paul.
No, not quite. So what I call it.
So it's made from Windbush.
Yes, Windbush flowers.
Yes.
So it is. Basically, it's just I mess
Is
about.
Anya there? Because we're going to get Anya to have a taste when she's back. There's no panic. Relax. Go on.
She's ran away to hide now. So no, it's just basically
to cleanse her palate before she
that's
drinks
it.
this.
No, basically, I've tried a few times just using various fruits and stuff to make wine over the years, and I'm just taking it one step further now by using actually the flowers.
Anya's going to join us here now. So in the fermenting process, I think my father did this once. There's big, massive glass jars. Is that not jars? Whatever you might call them.
Yeah, a demi-john, I think is the technical term.
Okay. Right, on, you sit down here. Come here. Do you drink wine?
I do, yes.
Okay,
Well,
occasionally, and
sometimes,
obviously when it's appropriate. Right, well, let's see what you think of this stuff. That glass is not the cleanest. I hope it's
not my glass, I want to point out.
So, do you want to do the honours here, Paul?
Well,
so, this is his made. What is a Winbush?
Winbush flowers, yeah. So
Well,
it's just in general. I was reading up stuff over the winter, and I was just looking about what you can possibly make wine out of, and it just went for the most bizarre thing available.
You're drinking a wine made from something you can possibly make it from.
Sounds safe.
Right, okay.
Well,
So-
there's plenty of raw materials out there anyway at the minute.
On, you can just maybe. What's the nose of it like? Just before you.
No, I'm no connoisseur.
No, just
so
sniff. What's it smell of?
It sounds kind of fruity.
Yes,
Are you glad?
No, it's not too bad.
Right, okay.
1 point.
Right, do you want a sip? Okay, she's drinking it. What's it like?
That's actually lovely.
Is it?
Yeah. It kind of
See?
tastes like a juice nearly.
You have little faith.
Right, give me the bottle here.
It'd actually be very light. It hasn't actually fermented that long altogether. So
I'm just going to have a little bit. And how much alcohol might be in this? I don't like promoting alcohol because it's dangerous, but.
Yes, I would say around 7%.
Yeah, it doesn't really have much of a...
That's troublingly
easy to drink.
flavoursome.
Yeah.
But it does have a little thing off it as well. Look at the wee heading too on the bottle there for anyone who's watching. That's really quite nice. How many bottles of that did you make?
I only made about 10 or so.
Excellent.
So, and
okay.
most of them have disappeared.
Do you need a top up on you?
No, I think I'll just
You
finish
sip on
this
that?
one, yeah.
All right, okay. Well, we'll
Still
leave
working.
that there for now. Right, listen, Anya, thank you.
Thank
What would
you.
you give it out of 10? Sorry.
I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
High
All right.
praise.
Yeah.
It's very easy to drink, so, you'd be able to drink it all night.
Well, again, we do not promote such activity here, but you understand where Anya's coming from. All right, Anya, listen, thanks for
Thank
being
you.
a good
Thank
sport. We really appreciate it. That's Anya Sweeney there. Yeah, it's actually, there is quite a nice taste to it, all right. It is a wine as well. So what is a Winbush? What does it look like?
Gorse would be what fancy people would call it.
It's not the one with the yellow flowers on it, is it?
Exactly,
Is that
yeah.
it? That's made from it.
Yeah.
There must be a ton of sugar in it, though.
There's a fair wee bit of sugar in it, all right.
And anything else?
A wee bit of lemon, just gorse flowers tend.
You can actually get the slight wee hint to them. It's only tiny wee.
Gorse flowers taste coconut, but very mildly. So to actually give it any flavour, you throw a wee bit of lemon juice into it.
Right, there you go. Okay, well done. All right. We're going to be back with more questions from Paul and... God, it does bite, doesn't it? There's a wee sting off it. Not in a bad sting, but you know what I mean? Like a little aftertaste lemon. And I only had a dribble. Okay, we'll be back with more from Paul, if we're all still standing up, after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to roll out the red carpet and celebrate the best and brightest in the business world for the Highland Radio Customer Service Awards in association with PGM Ireland.
From your local community centre to your favourite pet shop or your friendly dentist, we're recognising the businesses who are making a difference in your community.
This award is a great way to show your appreciation for the businesses that make a difference in your life.
But you better act fast. The deadline for entries is just around the corner. So visit our website and nominate now. Nominations close this Friday, the 7th of April.
New trainers from your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks, Asics, On Running and Hoka. New Hoka Clifton 9 has a wider toe box and it's softer, giving you that Hoka spongy feeling, making your run more responsive. Step into our safe size experience, have your feet measured and update your gait analysis. Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny. Look the part, play the part on bmcsports.ie.
If you're having any hearing difficulties, at Donegal Hearing Clinic, we can help. If your hearing loss is slight but you want to look into it, or it's got to the point where you've no other choice, we'll do what it takes to resolve your problem. It may be as simple as a wax removal. Donegal Hearing Clinic, Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Milltown Business Park, Buncrana. Call us on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience.
Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Okay, Paul's Winbush wine just managed by the skin of its teeth to survive the ad break. He's still with us. We're going to get some of your questions now. Hanging baskets, how soon should we have them ready?
How soon? Generally, we would never put nothing out before the 1st of May.
Yeah?
So wouldn't. Mid-May is perfect.
See, I always find that our first conversation of the year is about managing our ambitions and expectations.
Yes. And what I got? No, it's really you have to just garden with the seasons. And like say, they're going to be frost at the end of this week, so any sort of hanging basket stuff you put out now is just going to not last the night.
So that'll be our next convo, I think, the next time you're in.
Yeah.
When is the best time to put sulphate of iron on the lawn?
Sulphate of iron, you can pretty much from now on, you can do it generally any time between April and September. But I would leave it about 2 weeks till the temperature comes up a wee bit first.
Is last year's compost fertiliser in my planter okay for now to grow vegetables in this year, or do I need new stuff, please?
Generally, last year's stuff would be grand in the pot. I would freshen up the top of it a wee bit with some new stuff just to give it more nutrients. And if you're using old compost like that, depending on what you're growing, give it a good check first for the likes of slug and snail eggs. Because if they're over,
what do they look like?
Generally, they're like wee things about maybe 2 millimeters across, like wee eggs, and they're clear. So they're see-through. But if any of them there, because obviously once they smell your vegetables, they're going to hatch out. So just keep an eye for them, even around the rim of the pot. And around the inside rim.
You don't want them smelling your vegetables. What type of carrot should I buy to set?
What type of carrot should you buy to set?
Because carrots aren't actually orange, really.
No.
Per se.
No, you get all sorts of colours.
We have been conditioned to buy orange carrots, and that's why they're orange. I wonder how many people have grown carrots and chucked them out thinking they were off or something.
Yeah, pretty much. A friend of mine does a lot of sort of organic growing in that, and he was specialising in like the yellows, whites and purple carrots. And actually, once again, for the kids, it's much better to actually get them involved because it's a bit weird they'll eat it. So
so a particular...
There are a few different varieties.
Mix them up, maybe.
Pretty much, because to be honest, I'm the wrong person to be asking because I have grown everything in my life except carrots. They never work out for me, so they don't. There are new sort of development of carrot seed. You can take a look for them. So you get them in some garden centres. Whereas they're actually a big problem with carrots is that you have to thin them, and then that brings pests about because they can smell them as you thin them.
So they're labour intensive then, are they?
They can be a bit, but what a new invention for them now is like the seeds are actually spaced out in like almost like a tea bag and a big roll of tape. And you roll it in, so that's at the perfect setting.
Yeah.
So just it's worth keeping an eye out for them.
A caller says, don't be cutting grass until June. Let the dandelions and wildflowers grow. We and the bees need them. Without the bees pollinating our fruit and vegetables, the world would die. Yeah, and I know that's something you're interested in as well, Paul. And more people are... maybe reducing the size of the lawn or actually just having it sown wild as well. So, but at the end of the day, if people want to cut the lawn, are we at the stage where we discourage them to just get a slight bit of joy out of looking out of their window at a cut lawn? I'm not advocating for that. I get where the listener's coming from, but some people are already sort of splitting it off a little bit, aren't they?
I suppose it's all a matter of choice, if you know what I mean. Dandelions are an important source of early pollen and nectar for bees and stuff, but it's, like I say, it's a matter of choice. Pretty much.
I mean, listen, look at the fields, the hedgerows and our bogs, right, and see what's happening to them on the scale that it is, and that's why I'd be kind of reluctant to make someone feel guilty for having a lawn, but I get where the listener's coming from, and you can strike a balance. Recommendations for fast-growing evergreen hedging, something that's cost-effective and that will provide privacy.
Yes, probably our most popular one by far would be Gristlinia, which is like it's got a limey green leaf. Generally, it will grow up to maybe 8-10 feet if you let it. It's very manageable to keep it down at a lower level too.
And what's the name of that hedge that kind of became the North Korea of hedges?
Yes, the Lalandis.
That's gone out of...
Very much out of fashion. We've got.
Tell you, when it's looked after though, it's beautiful. But
yes, it's just sort of a big green wall. But it's just the problem is if it gets out of hand at all, it can be very unmanageable. So we can. But it really has gone out of fashion in the last 10-15 years.
But is it cheap and fast growing?
It would. To be honest, it's not actually that much cheaper. It is fast growing, all right. So it is. But once again, faster growing you have more maintenance costs further down the road. You have to cut it twice as much.
As I say, it's fantastic, but if it goes out of hand, it goes out of hand. So what other hedgerows then would you suggest?
Bristolinia or laurel probably would be quite good.
Okay, Paul, my hydrangeas haven't bloomed in 2 years. Lots of foliage, but very little blooms. We haven't fed them anything and pruned them back 2 years ago, but still no blooms. We don't have a problem with frost. Jack wants your solution.
Probably the first solution would be to say that they haven't fed them recently, so probably a wee feed would do no harm. You can actually get ericaceous feeds geared towards hydrangeas of that, which would be good, or just general touch with a product called potash. If he says there's plenty of foliage, nitrogen's not the problem. Because if you get a balanced fertilizer or someone that's fairly high in potash, it actually gears the nutrients towards the flowers as opposed to the foliage.
Yeah.
So hopefully that should kick it.
Because there is a science to all of it. Some of the stuff's simple. Some of it just requires a little bit of...
Pretty much. I would give it a wee light pruning now as well. Just not too hectic.
What is light pruning?
Light pruning would be sort of reduce it by probably less than a third.
Right. From the tips, obviously.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So a lot of people with hydrangeas this time of year can cut them back quite hard. But now if you're looking specifically for blooms, I'll give them a wee light pruning now.
Is anything I can plant in my garden that would soak up a lot of moisture? My garden tends to flood quite often with rainfall. I'm just wondering if there are any bushes, hedges or plants that are good for taking in a lot of moisture. I don't think planting's going to solve that problem. Maybe
quite
it is.
Possibly not. It can help to reduce it in a good way. Probably the most common thing for that would be willow in a big way.
Willow.
Yeah, or suppose around here they would call them sallies to an extent. But by planting willow, you get quite ornamental ones, but they can drink a huge amount of water.
You mean to tell me I was beaten with a willow stick and not a sally rod?
Exactly, yeah. It depends how fancy you are, I suppose.
Would Paul consider giving advice on using natural household products ingredients to combat garden problems to help save biodiversity? Well, listen, I remember doing items like this years ago, and it wasn't necessarily with you either, where everything was a chemical response. Now more and more we're talking about, and you've already been, you're a strong advocate for natural fertilizers and what have you. And I find in our conversations, Paul, the last place you go is something that's harmful or damaging. And I think that's a trend in gardening now, isn't it? We're always looking, but there comes a point where there is something that if you need to get rid of it, you're going to have to go down a chemical route.
Now, very much, even in the garden centre, we would always try and give like a natural remedy, or sort of even some like companion planting to give a natural thing. But there are occasions where chemicals are, such as your ericaceous, but knotweed.
Yeah, but we use that now as a last.
Yes,
last
exactly.
Option,
but no, even from when I started in the industry to now, the amount alternatives out there and the emphasis on chemicals has lessened.
You and your bloody washing up liquid and stuff like that.
That's it. Right? My garlic spray.
Your garlic spray. Yeah, exactly. But listen, we'll get to much more of those types of advice as things start to really brighten up and liven up for us. I try to grow my garden. I'm trying to grow my garden, says the listener, and it's in its very early stages. So what's good to set now? I think maybe something that gives them a bit of impact, you know what I mean, and makes them feel like they're making a bit of rapid progress.
Pretty much. I'd say, I suppose the first thing to do is just actually sit for a couple of hours and look at your garden and see where you see it, because where some people would see garden as vegetables, not other people see flowers. But I always reckon a good thing to start with the garden is sort of hedges, to give you a sort of a framework around it and actually provide shelter.
Frame it off.
Pretty much. And hedges really, by cutting the window, it really increases what you can grow. But the other thing would be go to your local garden centre, take a walk around and see what catches your eye.
I think people don't realise how amenable you guys are to someone coming in and having a chat and painting a picture. And you'll walk around the various samples that might be there and say, this could work in this area and that. Do you know what I mean? That's part of your love of your work too, isn't it? Engaging with the public.
Absolutely. Even technology's moved on.
I'm not saying you're going to design their garden for them, don't get me wrong, but there's going to be, you know, some good solid advice in that bit of time they have with you.
But no, so the way technology's come on, like probably 99% of people come into the garden centre now is a picture in the phone of their garden, or you can actually even look at it in Google Earth and get an idea of the size and scale and where it's facing. So like people are more than willing to help advise people, and like say if you are going and looking for advice, bring a few pictures with you and it gives the person you're chatting to a much better idea what's going on,
rather than trying to use their mind's eye. All right, listen, come here. We went easy on you for our first gardening item of the year, Paul, but as I say now, in the next 6 weeks maybe, is it? No, next month really things are starting to crack on, aren't they?
Absolutely. No, everything sort of kicks off from here, really. St. Patrick's Day is always traditionally the start of the garden. And
I think that kind of also coincides with when you start seeing the daffodils, though, isn't it, as well? And it kind of all ties in, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The daffodils, and next thing you see now is that start noticing around the country is the cherry blossoms. Will be coming out, and then people sort of associate that with almost the spring, start of summer.
Excellent. All right, listen, Paul, it's always a pleasure. You can chat to Paul and his colleagues at Ballagher Garden Centre in Letterkenny, and wherever you are around the county and region, you're bound to have a garden centre close to you as well. Hop in, chat to them. They're humans, and they are, and you might even have a bottle of wine.
You never know.
Well, I think all yours is gone now, isn't it? In fact, so don't go to the garden centre in Ballagher looking for wine, because Paul's it's got shot of it all in one way or other. All right, listen, Paul, as always, thank you so very much indeed.
Thank you, Greg.
That was the Garda slot of Garda slot. I am having a nightmare of a day. Our gardening slot. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show as we head towards noon after these.
Hurry, the last few days to enter our mega holiday giveaway. Buy a ticket for the Highland Radio Holiday Mega Draw today and you could be the lucky winner who will walk away with €10,000 to spend on a holiday of a lifetime and €5,000 in cash. Simply go to highlandradio.com and click on Win a Holiday. Winner will be announced on Thursday on the 9 to noon show.
Transform your garage with an electric roller garage door from Garola. It's time to modernise with a fully fitted roller door from just €997. With 21 colours to choose from, we'll even take your old garage door away. Book your free survey today. Call 1800 827 515 or visit garola.ie.
I remember you. Hi, this is May McFettridge here. Come and see me and the delightful Olivia Nash in a happy medium at the Alley Theatre in Strabane on the 13th of April. Join me for a laugh as I enter the spirit world and reveal all. Tickets from the theatre box office or online.
If I learned one thing in the last year, it's that falling into debt can happen to anyone. Luckily, I heard about the ISI, the Insolvency Service of Ireland. Their professional advisors can help you restructure or even write off your debt. The first thing they said to me was, every debt problem has a solution. I can still feel the relief. So if you're worried, visit their website backontrack.ie or free text Get Help to 50015.
The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Majorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, mainly dry at the moment, but rain will develop in the west and spread across the region to all areas. Highest temperatures today of 11 to 12 degrees with moderate to fresh southerly breezes. Martha Sweeney is manager of Drinkaware Education and is with us now. Martha, Martin Y, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
And good morning to you too.
It's great to have you with us because we're speaking in the context of Drinkaware launching a new campaign to reduce harm-related alcohol consumption. As new research shows, the age people are having their first drink at in Ireland is getting lower, 14.8 years, I believe. You don't ever kind of want to see trends in this day and age with all the information that's out there going in that direction, do you? You know, it's like seeing an increase in smoking. You just don't want to be seeing that nowadays. We should know better.
That's true, but the good news is that more young people also are abstaining from alcohol. But the concern is the number of young people in Ireland in terms of compared to other European countries, that the incidence of drunkenness is higher. So the concern is that when young people drink, that they're drinking more. And the long-term consequences of that is very significant. Now, the difference between, for instance, the research that was carried out by Behaviour and Attitudes found that those who were 50 years of age, on average, they had their first drink at 17 years, whereas those in their 30s had their first drink at 14.8, which is very young. And our campaign is very much a parent's campaign. Now, every parent wants their child to be happy and healthy. And in that regard, in relation to alcohol, parents can be enablers of their child being happy and healthy, and or they can be enablers of alcohol consumption.
All right, and we'll get to that and tease that out a little bit, because what's kind of interesting for those aged 50 plus, the average first drink was 17 years. Now we have the knowledge of how the young person's brain and body is still developing, and the negative impact even small levels of regular alcohol intake can have on brain development, for example.
Absolutely.
It's not all done and dusted at 15. They're still developing.
And sometimes the perception is that, it's okay for them to be having the odd drink, that, even under 18 years of age. The reality is that alcohol should have no place in childhood. The brain is still developing, their bodies, their bones, every organ, everything is developing in the young person, and especially during adolescence, which can be a time of sunshine or shadow for young people. And they often turn to their peers. They have this need to move away from parents and to have a sense of belonging. And sometimes parents feel that their peers have more influence on them than they have. But the reality is that young people themselves, in research we carried out in 2016, and this is borne out by other research, the young people themselves have identified parents. They said parents, 95% of young people of third years in 2016 said young people are the most influence, or the parents are the most influence. Parents and family members have the most influence in terms of deterring their young person from taking the first drink. And in research that was carried out by the University of Maynooth, it found that 57% of third years who were taking a drink had their first drink in their own home or somebody else's home.
And I want to talk to you a little bit more about that, but let's not forget, and listen, not being killjoys here, lots of people drink in moderation and so on and so forth, but we have to remember that alcohol is a carcinogenic, and we also have to understand too that in other countries such as Canada and a growing number of countries now, there is no amount of alcohol that is seen as safe. We still here have this 4 or 5 pints, which is a green light to drink up to that, whether people like it or not. That's how it's perceived, right? The Canadians have gone down a different route. But I think once you say that any alcohol's okay, even though they don't quite say that, it is a green light to drink to that amount, even though
however, it's not no risk. The HSE guidelines are low risk guidelines. They're not no risk.
Yes,
guidelines.
but I'm on about perception, and that's why I believe the Canadians have gone down the route that they have.
3 pints. If you drink 3 pints in one sitting, 3 pints are 6 standard drinks. 6 standard drinks or more in one sitting is actually binge drinking, and
that's once a week, is it not? As well, that's not daily. I believe that's once.
And over a period of a week, the allowance for the low risk guidelines are that a woman shouldn't have more than 11 standard drinks in a week, and a man 17. Because their bodies are different,
which is 8 pints, 8 or 9 pints.
But these are guidelines; they're not targets to be met. And it also says that there should be 2 free days, and these are for adults. There are no low risk guidelines for young people under 18 years.
Let's get back to them then too, because if you don't mind, sorry, Martha.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we look at this as black and white, right? So you get a group where they don't drink at all, the parents won't let them, and then you get another group that drink because the parents don't care. I don't really think that's where a lot of these people come from. I think there's a big grey space in the middle, right, where you'll hear parents say, firstly, I think they're more likely to be friends with their children than they might have been in the past, but B, that I prefer them to have a couple of drinks in the house where I can keep an eye on them, and they build a respect for alcohol, than going out and tearing it up and I don't know what they're doing. I think that accounts for quite a lot of this underage drinking.
Assumptions distort perceptions of reality. And making assumptions, for instance, parents, and you're right, parents can assume that it's good to give them the drink at home and to teach them how to drink at home. We're not like countries in the Mediterranean where young people grow up with drink. The climate, everything is very, very different. But even there are problems with young people drinking. But in terms of that perception, research has shown that those who start drinking at home in those circumstances are also liable to drink outside in the park. It just and it creates this pre-drinking culture, if you like, that they're going to drink before they go out and then drinking when they go out. But coming back to parents, it's not easy being a parent, and it's certainly not easy being a parent of teenagers. And there's no perfect parent, and there's certainly no perfect child. And we want to support parents to have the conversation with young people about alcohol. And it needs to begin young as 5 years of age. little children develop expectancies around alcohol from what they see happening in the home and outside of the home. There are various influences on young people in terms of alcohol. And we want to support parents to have a conversation with their young person, and it to be an informed conversation. Now, when I have workshops with parents, they're very enjoyable. They're non-judgmental. We're not asking parents to look at, to tell us their own stories, etc., about alcohol, but we're asking them to look at their attitudes and beliefs about alcohol, their attitudes and beliefs about young people, and to recognize that they're the strongest influence in their young person's life around delaying the age of first drinking around alcohol.
And I think I think too, it's more difficult for young people now on a couple of levels. Three at least that I can think of. Firstly, how many people listening to this programme, when their parents went for a drink, sat out in the car and were given a bag of Tato and a Coke or something? I think lots of people listened. There was that separation, right? That was what mum and dad do in there, what you do out here. Secondly, the amount of drinking that happened in the home. We've gone through this transition. All the pubs that are closing now, people think the licenses are expiring. They're not. They're all being bought up by off sales. That's where the licenses are going. Right? So we're having more and more drinking in the home. So children are exposed to that. It's normalised. A lot of people don't smoke in the house, but they'll have a glass of wine. Why don't you smoke? Right? Yeah. Okay. So, and also too, we have to support our young people because it's our fault. We are bringing them into a society that has a drink culture, that winning, losing, happiness, sadness, everything is medicated or treated or enjoyed with alcohol. That's the way it is. Our perception around the world, we've seen recently, we are associated with boozing. Young people are being pressured into drinking. So rather than blame them or criticise them, which you're not, and it's not all children, the majority of young people this age don't drink, we have to support them and understand the world that we're bringing them into and what we're exposing them to as well. Are we giving them the best chance?
And I suppose in terms of that and the culture, we can change the culture. We, the way we celebrate St. Patrick's Day should be about art, music, all of these things, not about alcohol. We can change that culture, and culture has changed. The culture in Ireland around wine. I mean, when I was growing up, people wouldn't be coming to your house bringing you a gift of a bottle of wine. But that has all changed, since then. And it's the impact of other cultures as well. But in terms of young people, we need to protect our young people. And parents have a key role in the protection of young people. We have partnered with My Kids Time, and we're delighted to have done so. And they carried out research for us. And we asked them who had the most influence on young people's decisions around alcohol. And number one, they listed their friends, number two, peer pressure, and number three, parents. So if we don't believe as parents that we have an influence, we're not going to have an influence. So self-efficacy is about believing in my power as a parent. And that's what the webinars we're going to hold for parents nationwide, and also the workshops will empower parents to have the conversation and to realise the young people need boundaries, they need to be monitored, they need good role modelling at home, and it gives parents the opportunity, it'll give them the opportunity to discuss and to relate with other parents. Key to all this is good communication with their child. And coming back to what you said, if a young person sees their parents using alcohol to cope with stress and difficulties and disappointment, it's very easy to model that behaviour. Equally, it's as easy if they see their parents doing really positive things to cope with disappointment, stress, talking to somebody. So at a young age, if a 15-year-old starts drinking or younger and continues to drink, they're 4 times more likely to have an alcohol-related problem later in life.
Yeah, okay.
So we need to protect that. And also, we need to give them the skills to develop resilience, to be able to cope without alcohol, to know that it's okay to fail, to know that it's okay to be disappointed or to be hurt or let down.
And just finally, do you think, given the fact that yours is a charity which is designed to, highlight the dangers of alcohol discourage and what have you, and we've talked about there's no risk advice in relation to alcohol, that Drink Aware kind of potentially could send out the wrong message. Is it time for a name change?
That's something.
It's a bit random. I'm just curious if you had a personal opinion. It's not I got you. I'm not trying to catch you out.
That sometimes people thought it was about drinking water.
No, it sounds to me like you're going to drink, right? But be aware of this. I just think in this day and age that the messaging is just not necessarily on point with the direction of traffic. That, as I say, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Martha, and I hope you don't believe I am.
No, that's fine. But it is making people aware of alcohol. And that's one of the things that I would have found in working with parents, working with adults, they will say, when they come to the workshops, it's very interactive. They're engaged in activities rather than it being talk and talk. And one of the things they'll say is they've actually reconsidered. They've begun to look at their own attitudes, their own behaviour, their own.
Yeah, you have to look in the mirror, don't you?
So
okay.
In terms of that, it is awareness.
Understood. And as I say, it's just it's marketing and something is that area is just something I have an interest in. Martha Sweeney, people can get onto Drink Aware, the website, to have a look at the new resources that are available for parents, including the Talking Matters and presumably notification of upcoming seminars, webinars as well, Martha.
And the seminars and webinars, if they contact me, Martha at the webinars and the workshops, martha@drinkaware.ie.
Will you have a lovely day, and thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself, okay? That was Martha Sweeney there of Drink Aware. And that is where we have to leave it on today's show. Thank you so much for listening and taking part. Back with you tomorrow morning at 9.